Good evening, everyone, to the Fitchburg Planning Board, February 27th. I'm going to read a slight narrative regarding opening comments. All meetings of the Fitchburg Planning Board are open to the public. This does not mean that the public participates in all aspects of the meeting. It simply means that the meeting itself, including all discussions and votes, is open for public view. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing, please raise your hand and the board will acknowledge you at the appropriate time during the hearing. The board will also monitor any participants that are attending virtually for questions at the appropriate time. Virtual attendees are asked to use the raise hand function to be acknowledged. 1, state your name and address. 2, approach the center table and either stand or sit. This allows you to be seen and heard clearly by everyone in attendance. 3, the planning board requests that comments be limited to no more than 5 minutes in the interest of time. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast, and I ask that anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by stating their name and address. All right, seeing none in that aspect. Our first order of business is we're going to just take a roll call of just presence for who of our board members are here, and just say present when I call your name. Alex? Not present. Alin?
Present.
Amanda? Peter?
Present.
Paul?
Here.
Tracy?
Here.
Paula? Here. Present. There you go. So we have 5 members at this time, and we can walk into approval not required plans for which we're approving, like that. And our first application this evening is FSU's Foundation Supporting Organization, presented by Jay Bry.
Or Anthony Cleaves.
Or Anthony. Sorry.
No problem. Good evening.
Submitted by
My name is Anthony
Jay.
Cleaves. I'm with Haley Ward, representing Fitchburg State University. So the plan you have for you tonight is for an area at the corner of Highland Ave and Pearl Street. You may be familiar, there's a like a pizza sub shop that's been there for quite some time. So it's at that corner. It's zoned Residence B. Fitchburg State owns all the land around that existing business. What this plan here for tonight is Fitchburg State is going to be cutting off a parcel of land from their land, and that's going to be conveyed to that abutting business next door.
So it's basically this paved area behind Campus Pizza or Macario's now?
Yes, if you go down Highland, just if you were able to go down Highland a little bit, there's a paved driveway.
Yep.
Yeah, we're right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is the backside of Macario's.
Yep.
So it's basically the existing paved area. It's just you're transferring that to them.
Exactly. So I think it's like over the years that was owned by one family, and then they had subdivided that and sold off that land. And there's a passway that was reserved to get around the building, but the existing pavement is beyond the passway. So it's the university is able to give them some of the land back so they can use it for their business. And so Fitchburg State's land also fronts on Pearl Street, so adequate frontage on Pearl Street for their remaining land. So the removal of that parcel A doesn't put them in any nonconformance for area or frontage. They'll have 15,000 square feet left over, which the minimum area is 10,000, and they have over 100 feet of frontage on Pearl, and the front requirement is 80 feet. So conformance there.
Perfect.
Will they actually be combining the lots because they are still 3 separate parcels in common ownership?
Yeah, so all of those 3 lots, technically, individually, they are non-conforming. So by statute, they do merge by title, and so they are one lot. Because now that it's all under common ownership, they were all individual owners. There were houses there at one time. And so once Fitchburg State purchased all of those, you lose your grandfathering because it's now common ownership. So, and then we have a note on that basically Lot B is retained to be a single building lot. That's note 7.
All right.
Paula, just as administrative matter, Amanda and Alex were both here at the beginning of this hearing, so they could sign it if they want.
Fantastic. Thank you. We took roll call for the recording. we know who's,
We realized lately that when we're doing minutes, we don't know who's here if people just show up, so I'm making a point of it so that we can know when we do the minutes. So, no problem at all.
I'm here.
You got here for the first hearing, that's all that matters. All right, it's-
any board questions?
no, it's pretty straightforward.
Looks pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Yep. I think we're all set. We need 4 signatures on the A&R.
Are there any imminent plans for the lot that's remaining? The FSU lot?
Not that I'm aware of, for the university? No, not that
Just
I'm aware of.
curious.
Yeah, no.
I had to at least ask.
Yeah, no, nothing that I'm aware
Yep.
of.
Okay.
Paul, Mary Beth McKenzie she's from Fitchburg State, she has her hand raised.
Sure. Mary Beth, was there something you wanted to say?
I was just happy to respond to the question regarding plans for that parcel.
Oh, okay.
That we would retain. And at this time, there are no plans. We are planning to use that as green space.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Oops. Sorry, I think I clicked that button, Mary Beth. You can ignore that.
And one more. Amanda, do you want to sign the plan?
It's all yours if you.
Okay, well, thank
want
you
the
very much
Mylar.
for your time. I think it,
Thanks, Anthony.
thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have minor site plans, which we have none, and we're going to our next segment of public hearings, for which we have,
Man, did you sign both of them?
Oh, I only signed one.
Good call, Bill. Good eye.
dual signature. Great. So our first item was continued from January, for which we have a board member who's going to recuse himself. We have Paul Fontaine. We have special permit and site plan modification, 216-11, applicant Tegra Properties LLC, proposing modification of planned unit development in the RA district, consisting of a mix of multifamily and professional office space at 579 South Street. Either come to the desk with the microphone or the podium, whichever you prefer.
What is it that you want me to put up on the, is there just
You want
the,
to, I guess we could start with the new design.
okay.
Okay.
Madam Chairwoman, just a point of order. Do we have enough members for a quorum for a vote tonight?
We should have 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have Alex and Alin virtual.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no, good question. So we just have 1 board member out of the 7 and recuse.
Okay. Just for the record, Tom Bavenzi for the applicant. I have with me tonight Bill Logan and Lance Delegano. And I know this has been before the board before, so I'm kind of getting in here midstream. And so I know there's been some comment.
Is this, yes.
Yes. Yes, I know there were some previous comments or recommendations made, but maybe by some members of this board And so the applicant has endeavored to address those by lowering the density at the site, the proposed density, and lowering also, and Bill can get into that more detail, also the proposed new building design from 3 stories down to 2 stories. It is being requested for the board's consideration in this modification to the mixed-use development to consider the addition of just an additional 10 units, residential units in that building. And I think, as you're aware, originally there was going to be proposed a 4,500 square foot medical office or professional office building at that site. And that was going to be phase 2, essentially, of this development. The first building, as you know, has already been built on that site, and you're familiar with it. It's located to the rear of the site, and that consists of 20 units. So the applicant is looking to modify, or to have this board consider a modification to allow the additional residential units in 2 stories. And I think before he was proposing 12 residential units in 3 stories. So I'd like to consider reducing that, and Bill can get into that, and that would be with 10 units in that one other building. So the permit was started, the use of the special permit site plan approval was started many years ago, substantially completed in the form of finishing off the back units, the majority of the residential units. We're here tonight to seek a modification. This, I think for the record, this is permit number 2016-11. Which was extended for a year in November of 2018, and then completed relative to that first phase, all those residential units that exist on that site today. So we're looking for input potentially. We've tried to address, I guess, previous comments. Before there was a height of request of 30 feet, which would have complied with zoning, but we're reducing that down to 25 feet. The traffic impact, and you have that Vanessa traffic study, shows a considerably reduced traffic count than the original proposed medical offices, professional buildings, and with the elimination of even some further professional office or building space in there, it would be even reduced even more. So the underground for the structure that exists on the site now has already been done. It's been completed. That includes the sewer pipes, water pipes, drainage pipes, so there won't be any further blasting. I think there may have been some discussion at the last time. The abutting property has a fence that separates the boundary line. Although the applicant doesn't own that fence, he is willing to work with the developer, of the abutting owner who owns the fence, and split the cost of any repairs or repainting of that fence with that condo association. The view, by lowering the elevation on the site, the new design will give plenty of view to the back, Cogswell Park. And then they've also tried to address the ramps with the neighbors so that everybody benefits from those and whatnot. The parking now has a larger number of extra parking spots, and we can go through that in detail. So because of the change in the economy and the need for residential just in the communities in general, and the ability to facilitate that need by the changing of the modification to allow this residential use, that we would look that the board consider the modification to the special permit at this site. And I can have Bill kind of address the more specifics of the architectural designs and whatnot, what we have there. Yeah.
Great. Bill Lorgan with Lorgan Architects. As previously mentioned, we did start off with a 3-story building, and there was some concern about the size of the building. Looked too large, didn't fit in with the neighborhood. There were comments from the neighborhood saying that, it didn't look like a residential building that would fit in there. It didn't have peaked roofs and things like that. We did have a mansard roof that we introduced around the 3rd story to keep the roof line down and trying to keep the building look smaller into like a 2-story building with a roof with people living within the roof. But we have now gotten away from the mansard roof, the third story completely. And it's now going to be all residential. The 2 floors are going to have 4 apartments each, and then the basement is going to have 2 apartments. So that'll be a total of 10 cars. All of the units on the first floor are handicap accessible, so that helps out in the neighborhood. I know that there are some handicapped people who may need a place to live, and then this would be a good spot for them to live. There's handicap parking, and again, all the sidewalks, everything around the building to get to the units are accessible. So the design of the building is pretty much the same. It's the same footprint as we introduced before without that third floor. And then we're still using the front of the building looking like a residence with a center entrance. I don't know, if you bring up the color one, it might be nicer. You probably see what's going on.
Do you know what,
Should be under 3D.
was it the renderings?
The rendering, yes.
That one?
There you go.
Yes.
So I have kept the center entrance in the front, which is a typical characteristic of, a center entrance, colonial, that kind of thing. And these 2 doors that enter the building will actually be private entrances into the 2 front units of the building. And then the rear will have an entrance for the rest of the building. What we tried to do, I put a hip roof on this, so it really looks like it's hugging the top of the building and not really making the building look a lot larger than what it could be if I put in a big gable on one end or 2 ends. So I tried to keep that roof line low and a very slow, a narrow pitch to it. So I do believe that this is more in line with what the neighborhood was looking for, and your comments from the board were looking for. Colors. I mean, it's the same colors that we presented before, and it fits in right with the building in the back. We're not really changing much at all as far as colors, so that'll tie the 2 buildings together. So, if you have any questions.
What's the square footage?
The square footage has not changed from before, except for the removal of that third floor.
I guess that's what I'm observing, is we did say we want to cut down in height, and there's only 1 foot difference in elevation from the floors, from the site plans that presented.
I'm sorry,
So the,
1 foot.
the building height before, I think, was 35 feet?
I'm not even going by what the was. We had the first rendering was, first floor was 9 foot 4 inches, second floor was 9 foot 4 inches, third floor was 11 feet 2.5, and it also included a basement, 9 foot 10. The newest elevations, same square footage. First floor again is 9 foot 4 inches. The second floor instead of 9.4 is 8.4.5. And I know it's not third floor, but that third elevation to the roof line, similar to what the third floor was, is still the same 11 feet, 2.5 feet. We're still with the basement. So we're only seeing a 1 foot. It still looks, the elevations are still large.
Where's this one? Oh, you mean in the overall height?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the overall height.
Well, part of
There's only,
making the building look smaller was getting rid of that floor. So now there are only 2 floors exposed, let's say, on the front of the building. Up to the ridge, I don't know how else you get a peaked roof that people want without having to slope up to a ridge.
I guess an expectation is when we said cut a floor, it'd be cutting like
Right.
8, 9 feet out, like a floor.
Right, so,
So you would like to get away from having a sloping roof and go to a flat roof?
Say a flat roof, but we said it.
Because the pitch that I'm showing on that roof right now is the minimum pitch really for.
Well, if you had the mansard that was there now and took a floor out, it'd be 9 feet shorter. Just saying the height. We wanted the height. The actual structure is still imposing. It's still above, yes, above for the neighborhood. There's all single families there. It's still like above the height of the neighbor abutting home.
Yeah, because of the roof peak.
So the appearance would still be a lot lower than that. And if you look at the, I mean, you can't even see the ridge from here because the perspective of someone standing there looking up at the building.
That's
The ridge almost disappears.
That's just one comment. The other comment brought from last time is really did not see no basement apartments. Said no basement apartments. It was supposed to be,
I don't.
particularly on Mr. Blackier's side.
Well, we had.
We said
discussed
no
it, but
window
one
wells, and
said-
we said no basement apartments, so I was surprised to see basement apartments back in this application.
So I don't recall saying no basement apartments.
Not desirable, just said.
I'm trying to find out why a basement, quote, a basement apartment.
And we're also
So you
at
don't like a basement
density
apartment.
here as well. We went from 4,500 square foot building to looking at 17,000 square foot building as well. And also on the, I know we looked at the density side, so there's 20 units you have in the apartment to the rear. It is residential A. Residential A typically does not allow, it's just single-family homes, pretty much, not apartments. So we're trying, like, with that density, it'd only be like 13 units on this site. So we already have 20 for the apartments. It was billed as mixed use with that part of the, that commercial aspect. We do want to see like less traffic. So that's where the density comes in of cutting down the number of units on that. So it's like we went from that 4,500 square feet to a substantially larger footprint. I mean, not the footprint, but on the height. Because the original elevation was only like a story, just a story and a half, and trying to keep keeping that kind of in line. And now we did not want an imposing structure right at the frontage.
Right.
We wanted it to kind of fit in between and not be, because of the
commercial
things like that.
use, I don't have those figures in front of me, but weren't there more auto trips counted for?
Yeah, so Madam Chairman, through the chair, so I think the auto trips decreases significantly. So if you're looking at previously, the vehicular trips like 276 for unit time, it's down to 72. So that's in the trip generation summary and comparison, table 1 in the record. So it's probably cut down by, 60%, the trip, that aspect of it. I'm not,
You could see that too.
so that's one positive thing
It's a
relative
positive.
to the density and use. So the usage is going to be a lot less intense, and no doubt about it.
And not opposed to seeing some additional residential use there. It's just the density and how it looks and on the frontage so that it blends in with what's there.
No,
And
understood.
it doesn't look like another apartment building.
Understood.
So we even mentioned previously whether or not you even looked at townhouse style or something along those lines to kind of more mimic in the front. You can even do a single-family home if you like in the front, to just kind of, again, it doesn't have to match what's in the back. And that's similarly, where you mentioned like the gray and stuff matching the black, we don't necessarily want it doesn't have to match what's in the back. You're not even seeing what's in the back.
Understood. And we're just getting the board's kind of feedback at this point. Assuming those issues, those development issues could be addressed satisfactorily, would the board be inclined to consider a residential use instead of a commercial use on this special permit modification? Currently, it's approved for commercial and residential. Residential's been built. So in part, we're asking for the residential because of the change in circumstances over the economies have changed and the need for affordability. So I'm just trying to get the sense of the board, whether that would be considered favorably.
Let's get some feedback.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to the residential at all. It's just, it's a big building. That, but, yeah, I understand if the commercial tenants aren't out there.
It also lowers the traffic count. That was another thing behind the thought process of the change. Significantly lowered it.
Because the commercial aspect was also restricted to no retail. It had to be like office, so there was also less in and out. So that being said,
Right.
The
I'm
type of
assuming,
use was restricted.
Vanessa took that into account
Correct.
in their analysis. That's what it says.
okay, just a minute. Get that. Peter, do you have any?
I'm certainly not opposed to residential units, on the site. I think that's absolutely fine. I think there's a big need today for more residential units. Just a couple of comments on the project in general. I agree with the chair that, we talked a little bit about the height of the building before, but I do have to give Mr. Lorican a lot of credit here, because the building facade that was presented last meeting, that building facade was it just hits you in the face. Right. It was like a fortress, an impenetrable fortress. It just made an incredible presence. The new design that you presented, I think certainly fits an awful lot better on the site. It certainly mirrors the back image nicely. I think by adding that, taking the third floor off and adding that new roof pitch, that makes the building look much more airy, it's much smaller. It just breathes better on the site. So I kind of like the new plans, and I think it would, in my opinion anyway, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but in my opinion, it's a great looking building. I think it would be nice on that site.
All right. Alin?
I agree with the chair. I think it's a step in the right direction, because the proposed building at the other meeting was a big building. It would definitely stand out in the neighborhood. So I think, like I said, this is a step in the right direction, but I'd like to see something a little less imposing. And I'd really like to hear, if there's anyone in the neighborhood, I'd like to hear their feedback as well.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I agree. Let me lower that hand. I agree, Paula, with you and as chair. I think residential is a good way to go. However, there's not really seems to be the height adjustment still an issue. So if that can be adjusted, I like the mock-ups. I like the direction it's shifting into, but it doesn't seem like there was much of a change with the height adjustment.
Okay. Amanda?
I don't feel any differently this time than I did the last time we talked about this. I'm interested to hear what the other people have to say, and I'm just going with the flow on this one.
Okay. But a question was, are you not opposed to, or opposed to it being residential, or?
I mean, how can I be opposed to? I mean, I wouldn't want to. I'm not a stick in the mud when it comes to putting businesses there. If it's not going to be successful, I want you to have a successful project.
Okay.
But yeah, the density is an issue, and if you can make it less people, the building will be smaller. But I understand you are a businessman, and you want to be successful. So we'll just see how this conversation plays out as the night goes on.
Thank you. And I will also take some public comment. Can you come up to the podium and state your name for the record?
Hello, my name is Beth Holland, and I live at Norville Avenue, and pretty much going in and out of that area of South Street 4, 6, 8 times a day. That is a very nice rendering you have there. All that green grass, is that from the building to South Street? Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't see how that's possible, because I live there, so it looks very pretty in the picture, but it seems like that building is going to be put right on that obtrusive corner. I'm not against anybody having commerce building, but it just does not fit the flow of that area. Like you said, it's just very obtrusive. It's very imposing. Maybe one big ranch house would be nice. I mean, I just think, I know you have to make money, but sometimes there's a greed factor too. So I think there's other viable places in the city where this could go nicely, but I don't think it's going to fit nicely in that area. And when they're talking about traffic, was that from 8 years ago? Because the city has grown. And there's a lot more traffic on South Street than it was 8 years ago. So I'm talking about that intersection. It's very risky. You got FedEx trucks coming in and out of that area all the time. It is. It's a very obtrusive area. So that's how I feel.
Okay.
I mean, I'm all for what he wants to do. I'm against any commercial. But a residence, that's fine. Why don't you go try a ranch style? Because there is a big slope there. So my other thing is when you have a lot of cement with the parking lots, you're going to have flooding. Because there's not going to be much of trees or anything in that whole area to grasp all that water. And then there's backdraft, all the dirt, the sand. It comes up into certain parts of that road where I live, which is right there near South Street. And a lot of the people can't show up because a few of them have died. And this has been going on for 8 years, so other people have moved, and there's just different other factors. But, you know, it is what it is. Good luck.
Thank you for your input. All right.
What about
Do you
the
have-
neighbor on the side?
Have you approached Mr. Black here, your neighbor, the butter? So we did ask that at the last meeting, to approach him, to ask about his thoughts on the matter, and particularly about the landscaping aspect of that, for what he was expecting to be there. And with this type of development or these changes, what he would would like to see or was comfortable with.
So that, just
It's
again,
important.
Madam Chair, the name of the neighbor, just
The abutter, I think
abutter.
it's Mr. Black here,
Blackstone. Thank you.
if I'm saying it correctly. So he's been waiting for a while for landscaping
Okay, yeah,
to
so
occur.
He's located, if you're looking at the building to the left.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. If you're
And there's
looking at
supposed to
it,
be a fence too. Oh, yeah, that's in the,
yeah, there was going to be like a berm and some fencing and some landscaping in between, trees, and kind of, right. There was previously going to be a parking lot there with a dumpster, so the dumpsters were moved, so at least there's that aspect of it, but that's also the factor, and I'll have to say, it's like, you weren't here in 2016, so when this project first came to being, it was very, very challenging with that. There was a lot of neighbors out for this, particularly of the condominium complex, of why you really don't have many windows even facing that direction for the building. Privacy. So we would take to heart about, that's what, again, with like the units of the basement being on the side and aspects like that. We don't want to be any more further obtrusive to the abutters than previous.
Right.
So that was a lot of hurdles for this project, for that. So we're kind of sensitive to that for where it went and, where it's going. And we want to make sure we're still sensitive to that.
Understood.
Aspect there. This is why I do like that you put in the like ADA for the, like when we talk about like what's different. Please tell us like what mixed use, what's a little bit different that makes it a little more unique than this is not just apartments aspect. So I like the handicap piece on there and making sure that those are accessible units. Something you can consider too is it is like a box building. Mm-hmm. Maybe do you like step it a little bit to make some relief so it looks a little broken up, or if you're looking at different units that way, or you concentrate on it. I guess, but one of the overall things is like that the height aspect. We had talked about South Bend and Ashley Ridge. There's apartments and there's condos. It's like you can do like you have apartments, you could do like condo, type of things, but sensitive now to making sure that you have some ADA units, I think is a good way to go, though.
I think another thing to consider, with the project is what is going to look good on the site and what's going to make the site really stand out and be a big asset for Fitchburg. Right now, you have a building on the site that's built towards the rear. This building towards the front certainly fits and mirrors that nicely. It's easy to say, well, let's put a single-family house there. But a single-family house would kind of look out of place. You got a house in front of an apartment complex. Someone might say, let's put two townhouses there. I'd feel the same way. What are two townhouses doing on this development with the nice apartment complex in the back? You certainly could lower the building, take off a floor, then all of a sudden you have 4 to 6 units rather than 10. But I don't think, personally, I don't think a one-story building with the same roof line is going to look appealing on the site.
Right.
I think this particular structure with 2 levels, shallow roof line, mirroring the image in the back, is pretty good for the lot.
I guess.
That's in my opinion.
Okay. So there's a little difference of opinions there, because I don't care that it mirrors what's in the back, because you're not seeing the back. For the project. But.
Have you thought of just like the townhouse? I just feel like that would break it up a little bit if you, I mean, you could do like 4, I mean, I'm not sure space-wise, but, you know, like 4.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you
And it doesn't look so boxy.
Right. The facade would be,
I mean, just a thought. I don't know if that's,
The other thing is there's vents on the front. If you could, and no condensing units or mini splits, but I see like in the relief, you've got all these vents in the front under the windows.
No mini splits on this one.
No. Not on the facing side, not on the front facing side. Then that, I say that was kind of a little bit to see on the back building where that was put on the front versus on the back side of the building to see that was because it's kind of like ruined the aesthetic there a bit.
Right.
But here, right on the front of the street, we don't want to see
All
that.
done internally. You won't even know the building has.
Yeah, it'll be the opposite of what's in the back.
Okay.
Yes.
But, so here, just in the renderings, though, you've got all these vents under the windows you don't normally see.
right here.
the vents.
The vents. under-
Yeah, underneath all the windows.
That's part of the HVAC system.
There's no
But
exterior.
it doesn't project from the building. It's in plane with the.
You know, see if you can
platform.
put them off to the side or something. That's just not attractive to have in the front of the buildings. Why, we don't have other buildings that have this right in the front.
You're referring to the
The
actual
grill,
The
the
grill.
grills, yeah.
deck units.
These right here.
Right.
Yep.
When you guys are mentioning about keeping the format similar to the ones in the back, I might suggest not to, because I've had a lot of people ask me about the apartments in the back if they're storage units. So I'm just gonna give you that information. They're nice from a distance, but a lot of people think there's storage units back there. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
I drove into the complex just today to check it out, and I certainly could understand if this particular building that you're proposing were trimmed out like the one in the rear. It would fit in nicely. If you use the 2 colors of siding, just like you did in the rear, if you use the belt line in the middle to break up the colors, or even if you used a different kind of material where the front doorway is, where the recess is, and where the bump out is on the side, using the same colors as the back, I think it would be a good-looking structure for the property.
This really is going to be a complementary building to the back. It's going to
Okay.
complete the site. And we just feel that it just makes the most sense for this site, you know. And I think that, you know, we were really conscious, and we went through, actually listened to the meetings from the previous meetings and went through each line item from all the concerns of everybody and really tried to address them, and especially the traffic. That was a big one. And, you know, taking away the commercial, taking away the 4 units, I mean, drastically lowered it, you know. And also, just a note, if you're looking at this building to the left, there's a commercial strip mall, and then there's another building that's actually 3 stories that sits there. And it's higher than this building also, so that was something.
Further on South Street?
Yes.
Yes, that is what we don't want, because that
Right.
is what occurred, and we don't want to see that again, because that was an imposing structure on the neighborhood, which was, you know, out of scale, let's just say. So we want, that's very important, that
So I
we want it
wanted-
out of scale. That,
We're
I'll say,
lower
is a
than that.
sticking point.
We'll make sure it doesn't look like, understood.
in that regard. But I agree, there's certain things you can do here, because even that middle piece, you can make more prominent, or like stone, different material, so it doesn't look like it's all the same. Shouldn't be like, vinyl siding that breaks it up, gives a little more high-end aspect to it, so you have that section jump out.
Yeah, you mean where the peak is there on the entrance?
Right.
Right, that whole middle section right there that goes from, top to bottom, that it's, if you have a different composite material there, like,
It's a lot of frontage for just one kind of material.
right.
It'd be nice to break it up in the middle with something different. And
Oh, I see where that, where.
also the bump out on the side, nice place to put something different,
Sure.
even if it was shake or something like that.
Right, sure.
Right, so you even have, so you do have that top piece, the right overhang, but also, you also have that middle section to add some emphasis to, or to try to break up the boxiness.
Sure.
So we're talking about materials now. So this building would be okay to use if materials were changed on it? Is that where we're going right now?
It's back to that.
Well, I think it would
Can
be
you bring up
a
the
step in
elevation
the
in
right direction
relationship to the,
The look
This one?
there's one in relationship to the neighbor, I remember, like for the neighborhoods.
But that was from the last meeting, you want me to bring
Right.
that one up?
Yeah, but it's only like, again, a foot difference, so it's just trying to like,
Should be a previous.
Do we have a color
perspective.
rendition of the second?
No, that's
proposal?
2016.
the first one?
Yeah, no.
I've got a copy of it here.
Yeah, we have a copy we can show.
Just,
We should have an electronic copy of it also.
Is it the 3D sketch?
You mean the one?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I can bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay,
that
there it
was-
is, right there.
Oh, was
So-
that the one you wanted?
Yeah, but
Without
the elevations to that,
thought-
because it had,
That one.
yes, there we go.
Well, I was hoping to see the color one, but that's okay.
No, I wanted
No,
to
he-
see that in
Paula wanted
respect
to see
to
the house.
the neighboring house.
I see.
So you can see that the change in the roof line is enough with respect to that, bringing that down, and also like the foot aspect, so.
Can you go between the second rendition color and the current?
So you want that?
It is the
and
current,
That one?
That one?
right, there's the plan before it was modified.
That's a preliminary that shouldn't even be there.
Okay.
Because there's asphalt all around it, that shouldn't be like that.
So there's a drastic difference in the looks.
Was it? Nope, not that one.
Yeah, the first one was kind of like the one on Summer Street that we
Right,
Giant.
exactly, yeah.
answered. So, well, we can take, we can go back over the board comments again. And so the question the applicant is asking whether or not this type of profile, but enhanced materials, removing of the grills and aspect would be appropriate to pursue. Does anybody have any comment regarding that?
I think it would be helpful, too, if you had that plan like this, how you have this elevation, highlight with that house next to it.
I did have.
But that was the previous building.
No.
There should be another one on there.
We only have this elevation.
All right, hold
for
on,
this
let me.
Submission.
It's A 3.1.
Do you see it? I don't know. That looks like the only,
That's why I do paper, because people.
no, because that's the, don't see it.
This was all submitted as part of
Oh.
this submission. This is the drawing you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yes.
Yeah, I don't see that one. I didn't see that one in there.
Not at all. In fact, I can leave this here if you want a paper copy.
I studied that online, Bill, yeah.
Oh, you saw it on? I don't see it here.
I thought it was in the package.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
looks good.
And I'm sorry, I know, Lynn, you can't, Alex,
Sure.
see that aspect.
I don't know where it is.
Well, it does look more in line.
Looking at it that way.
Looking at it that way.
Than the previous one.
It was, yeah, we didn't see it in the packet. So all we had was to
Okay.
compare was the previous one, and then looking at the difference in elevations going, look, there's only a foot difference. Like, how does, imposing as that looking in the neighborhood
Okay,
aspect too. So you did your homework, we just didn't have it
okay.
here. Peace with that. So, more feedback. I'd like to know feedback from the abutter, and I'm also interested in whether or not he has got any issues with basement apartments on that side aspect too, and whether the board has any issues with units there. That's a piece. He's proposing 8 units, 8 residential units.
10.
10 residential
Right, 'cause you
units.
have no commercial anymore.
Right, yeah,
So
Because initially, you're going to
two
do
in
a
the
couple
basement,
offices.
Correct.
4 each floor.
4 on the first floor that are all handicap accessible, 4 on the second floor, and 2 in the
In
basement.
the basement.
I guess one of the keys is, you mentioned the entrance to the front for the 2 in the front, but those going to be ADA, but you're going to have everybody come around to the front for those? Is that practical?
I'm sorry, I don't follow what you're saying. The
So
front
the-
doors, the 2 front doors
Yes.
are private doors that go into individual apartments.
Right, but they're all going to be, what I'm saying is that they're all made for ADA on the first floor, so you're going to, so that's the aspect of you having to come all the way around to the front for that, too, travel distance. You're going to have like a heated sidewalk, or, where you can make sure to keep, that's going to be important for that, because it's not going to be like coming out, going into the back into an area or hallway to your unit. That's going to be a lot of traveling to get to there.
From the parking lot
From the
to that
parking
front
lot to
door.
the front
Just those
door.
2 apartments in the front.
Yeah,
Right, and there's parking right to that left on the, I'm sorry, on the right of the building.
Yeah, so that's shown on the site plan.
Oh, okay.
okay.
And it splits the
Oh,
difference
that's
between
right.
the front door and the back door.
Are those just going to be, that's just a couple spots, or is that all the big parking?
Let's see.
No.
Can you bring up the parking plan? Was that the,
Was it in the previous one?
no, it's here. I think it's the bottom. Is it the bottom one? It says site plan.
Oh, site plan.
Yeah, site plan. There is parking in the rear also.
Thinking.
And seeing that we brought up the site plan
Yeah.
right now, everything that was mentioned about, runoff, water going off of the site, that has all been addressed in the past. And that site plan has been approved with the amount of pavement, catch basins, slopes, and that's all been addressed, so.
We'd probably want to see an enhanced landscaping plan for this, what you're going to be doing in the front.
There was a landscaping plan given to you, yeah. But it can.
Well, we
you
had
can
that
come up with
previously,
yet another
so
one.
we would like a new one, because the last one was about the shrubs all in the frontage, which that would all be kind of moved.
Right.
Okay, so we want to see what it's going to look like from the street, and probably have some more plantings in front of the walkway or area like there, and in the parking area, and again, what's going to go against Mr. Blaquear's property. So,
And then we also talked about place for pets, because you're accepting pets.
right,
Well, at least you are in the back, for where they're going to, because if you're going to have kids playing, you don't want them, you know, I mean, I know there's a lot of green already, but you need to have a special spot for the animals to go to the bathroom.
So this is a request, before it was brought up that where do pets go, so you actually want.
Yeah, right, we talked about it in the last meeting.
Yeah.
So you want a designated pet place.
Well, that's something.
And maybe you have one in the back for the other apartment already, but you could designate somewhere on the property for that.
Just a fenced-in area.
Well, whether it's fenced in or not, it doesn't have to be a park, but it has to be an area that's expected.
Notated area.
Right.
Exactly, and with signage, and, pick up after yourself scenarios and that for people so they, are aware, what designated areas are there, so specific. Another piece too is also looking, I know you have, like, in this plan, you see the crosswalk going over to the edge, getting onto the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yes, so take a look. Yeah, so getting over onto the edge of the sidewalk, onto there, take a look at that, because I think you need a little enhancement, because it's been a little challenging to get up on that piece.
There's a top coat.
Yeah, there's just a binder down right now, so when the top coat goes on,
That'll
it'll be a
finish.
smooth transition.
Okay.
That's why.
And off-site, previously when we did a site walk, all right, there's an enhancement to the sidewalk in front of Ashley Ridge that needs a little piece of a ramp. And so the curb has to come out and have to make it so the wheelchair, because you can get off the curb on one side and then you can't get back on it to continue down South Street to, all the traffic lights, and so it's forcing people off the sidewalk.
It's already been agreed to.
So, yeah.
Right. Actually, that's what.
So whenever you get some good weather for that, it's appropriate. It's not a big lift, I would hope,
Sure.
to do that, because we acknowledge you do have some tenants in need for that
Sure.
as well. So that would be a good enhancement.
And, talking about the site again, and then the abutter, there again, his house that I've shown on this profile, there are no windows from his house looking into our site, except from the garage. So it's not like people will be standing in the proposed building looking into his bedroom window. There are no windows on that side at all. So
Okay.
that's why I feel
Comfortable with the basement
confident
pieces.
that, that he shouldn't really have a problem with what we're doing. Because we also have the fence and the tree line and all of that as a buffer.
You have, and then I think in the prior plan, you did have storage in the basement too for,
On one side, those.
ones.
Correct.
And elevator, no elevator?
Elevator, no.
No elevator. Okay, that's why the first floor, ADA,
Correct.
right, staircases. And again, I would ask the board, are board members okay with the proposed density?
I'm okay with it.
I feel better seeing that. Seeing the comparison
Okay.
with that, because, I was looking at the other, and
It is a big difference, isn't it?
Oh, it's a huge difference. And coupled with the fact that you're offering, in this development, you're offering the city 4 handicapped apartments, very hard to find. You're offering the city some great housing. Everyone is fighting for apartments right now, trying to find apartments. So it's kind of nice to see some quality apartments being built. You're even pet-friendly, which is unheard of. So I think coupled with all of those features, it's a great development. I understand where you came from to get to this point, and I understand all the people that are talking pro and against it. But I think this fits and it works.
I do like the idea of the different materials to break it up, so it doesn't have that look of just,
Amanda, are you okay with the density? Just trying to give feedback.
Yep.
Okay. Alin and Alex, anything you'd like to, are you okay with the density? Anything else you'd like to add for them for feedback so they could come back with a plan?
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
have
obviously
anything
wasn't
at the
privy to what was, sorry, Alex.
No, I have nothing to add at the moment.
Yeah, and I just, whatever was shown to everyone, since it wasn't in the packet, if that can be uploaded for next time to review, because it seems like it's a game changer to the
Yes.
people that got to see it.
I know.
So I think I would just like to see that.
I thought
I'll
I
make sure
uploaded it. I don't know how it maybe got missed or
Yeah, we
something.
can make sure.
Was it a
it's
second?
complete package.
Oh,
Was
yeah,
it a
don't-
second page, or was it separate page?
No, I checked to make sure it wasn't this,
Okay.
on the same, like,
Yeah.
But we'll make sure there's a complete package.
Okay. We'll get that too. So that's some of that feedback, and it's like, yeah, we try to, the vents and things, try to keep that not visible from the front, on the frontage side. Any mechanical units shouldn't be visible from the front or from that side. Try to keep them, we should be covered or screened, not in the front, but where they are. So those are those comments. And, well, glad you're looking to move forward on it, because we all like to see an improvement there. It's like, we know we saw, you got the shrubs there, but, yeah, all you're really seeing is the parking lot behind that and the storage container. So just be aware the storage container can't stay there on a long-term basis.
No, that's
For that,
our material that
it's
we,
probably why people's thinking this might be a storage
Sure.
site.
no, I think you'll be
For
very
that,
impressed
so-
with the finished product here.
With that. So, is that enough information for you this evening?
I think so.
I believe so.
Okay.
Motion
Request
to
a
continue?
continuance.
And
So when we come back with 10 apartments, that's not going to be a problem?
we have 8 and 10. This is what we asked, we just asked the board members, and I don't think anybody said that they had an issue with the density when you dropped it down to that, of course, as long as, we're asking the neighbor and those basement aspects of that.
You seem to be concerned about the ones in the basement, that's all.
That's it, yeah.
and that's just she's just saying to have a conversation with the neighbor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I will.
I really want you to have that conversation before the next meeting.
Yes.
Because we want some kind of like how that went, and, maybe he's thrilled that it's this instead of that, and what else he had any concern over.
Will do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
there's a motion to continue made by.
Motion
Ann.
to continue?
Okay,
Second.
with a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
good. We have, Paul's coming back.
All right.
Our next item this evening, new hearing, special permit and site plan for Clearwater Real Estate Group, LLC, proposing to build a 3-family residential development in the neighborhood business district located at 845 Water Street. As I can only recall for those out in virtual land, this former Kentucky Fried Chicken location.
Yeah.
You have to go
For those who even
way back
remember
in the
that.
memory bank
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
way
to
back.
remember
We're
that
putting the
one.
way back hat on.
So what would you like up on the screen?
For the record, Bill Hannigan with Hannigan Engineering. I have Harold Mateo of Clearwater with me on this one. This is his project. I think based upon we had a meeting with yourself and Chantel to go over the project, and I think one of the important aspects of it is the building location. So there's a building site, there's a site area PDF that I sent over, and then there's a building site area to take a look at the two areas. Because when you look at the lot, the question that came up almost immediately was, why are you jamming them in the far corner of the site? Why don't you put them in the middle of the site where it makes a little bit more sense? And I think once you see what we're dealing with respect to the easements that are on the property, that part will at least be clarified, and then we can go into the site plan. So the image on the screen now, the blue line is the property line. And as you can see, there are some wires going through that, and that's actually part of an easement and I believe that's Unitil easement, which extends to the north and to the south on the property. So the next one, Paul, if you bring that up I've added a red line to that same sketch.
Just bear with me for 1 second.
Yep. Yeah. So that image right there shows the red triangle is really the only place we can put any structures. Okay, so it's very limited for its building footprint. And if you look closely, you can see the old foundation and the sidewalk from the old Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is why they were where they were on the property. That's just below Paul's hand on the screen. So now if we bring up the site plan rendering, we can go through the various things that we talked about and what we've done. And this is actually the landscape.
Oops, sorry.
No, that's fine. We can do one or the other.
This one?
Yeah, I thought I had one rendered for the actual site too.
So I have building site, landscape, and then that was the one that I just.
So yeah, bring the one up. Bring up the full set of plans.
Okay.
So since the submittal of the project, we've had comments come back from departments as well as planning staff, and we've made some changes to address many of the items that have been brought up, specifically by the water and sewer and DPW on this. Many of the comments that came through were not significant. I'll try to pull out that list that I was given by Ryan.
You want me to pull it up? Because I
yeah, if you have that up.
Yeah, they did upload it. I didn't see it till just now, but they did upload it.
So the water department comments were.
So the water was separate. Let me pull up the water. This is water comments. So water is right here, clear water. Proponent shall abandon at the main the existing 1-inch water service line that previously served the property from Krisiak Avenue. Materials and construction of water lines connection shall meet water division specs. No other issues or concerns related to public water connection were identified.
Okay. So we've added a note to the plans on the site plan sheet that is actually on Water Street because there is no water in that section of Krisiak Avenue. So we're actually hoping that the maps that the city has are wrong and that there is water there because it's going to be a lot easier for us to do that work in Krisiak Avenue than it is in Water Street. So just to the right, there's a light shaded note on the right hand side of the page there. That's the note that we've added to the plan to basically talk about that.
This one right here?
Yes. Okay.
Location of existing water service to be determined prior to construction.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So that was one item. The other item, which we talked about at our meeting relative to the city engineering comments, was regarding the sidewalk on the front of the property. I don't think that there were any other comments in there, were they?
This is the DPW comment. It says, comments provided for 845 Water Street separately regarding ADA ramp and crosswalk across Krisiak Avenue. Engineering respectfully requests that new ADA ramps are completed with a receiving ramp and ADA accessible crosswalk. Projected reconstruction of Water Street is still 3 to 5 years away.
Okay, so that is probably a more up-to-date comment than what, because that was the conversation that I had with Ryan today. Okay. During the meeting that we had with yourself and Paula and Chantel, the previous plan did not show any sidewalk work or curbing work along the Water Street, Krisiak Ave intersection. So we've added granite curbing along the frontage, essentially parallel with the property line with a 5-foot wide sidewalk and a presumed 6-inch wide granite curbing. Down around the bend to a ramp system which would drop down to a handicap accessible pad with an ADA warning strip. And then that would extend just around the corner, and that would be the end of, we would do a tip down for the granite curbing, and then that would be grass behind that tip down, and there'd be a section of concrete just on the other side of the ramp system.
That's great.
And just for transparency on this, what the DPW has asked is that concrete sidewalk also be extended up to our driveway, which that we talked about the offsite improvement requirements on the project, and there are already some significant cost items that we're going to be dealing with, and we feel that might be a little bit more than what would typically be required. And they also asked for us to, and they just reiterated that note in their most recent comment to construct the receiving end of the handicap accessibility sidewalk, to basically rebuild the sidewalk on the south corner of Kruziak and Water Street. That's something that we're not showing on the plan. There is granite curbing in that area, and if you look on a street view of it, you can see that more so on the Water Street edge, it does appear that may already have not as cleanly built as you'd want it to be, but it might be that just some simple modifications to that opening just to the left there, Harold. Right here.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the street scene. I'm pulling up the street scene right now. So
I think that it might be that it looks like it dips down right there. You see it, Paul.
Yeah.
So I think right in that area, if we cleaned that up a little bit and maybe put in the detectable warning strip with a concrete pad, I think that would suffice. At least we don't have to dig up all that whole side of the road, which is what I thought earlier today when I was talking to Ryan. So I think that's something that we can add to the plan.
Nice.
prior to permitting. The second note that was in my list was relative to the costs for a sewer connection fee of $4,000 per unit, and they would need a wastewater permit application submitted with that. That's not an issue. What kind of trees are being proposed along Kruziak Avenue? Right now, what we've shown them as deciduous trees, and really it's about what the city wants relative to stock and what's available at nursery stock at the time. I would think some sort of a maple or an ash tree, something that would be would grow and be nice. The wires are on the other side of the street, so that's a good thing. We can stay away from those with a nice street tree in that location. But I think that's something that we could work out with. I'm not sure who's in charge of what trees we pick, quite frankly, for that. But we are proposing. I think it's a 2.5-inch caliper at the time of planting deciduous tree in those locations.
So I would just run it by probably DPW and the superintendent of streets, Jeff Hillman and Nick Erickson. And,
yep.
I don't know that the board has any specific preference, right? As long as the DPW is good with.
Yeah, we don't want it to be. We want it to be Asian longhorned beetle
or willow tree
resistant.
or something inappropriate.
Yeah, and you don't want something with it, like I mentioned in the meeting we had. I know that
you don't want a crab apple
past. You don't want something that's going to interrupt the roots. The street or the sidewalk.
Yeah,
or
we're
whatever
far enough away from the utilities on that, but I think
maple
that,
or something. It's something to give you.
Something to create shade eventually.
To create some shade, something for that to give it some.
Right. I think that we can work that out. We're on the same page because I think the caliper of the tree that we're speccing, kind of lends itself to that type of a tree.
Okay.
I do have to say I like the changes you made to the plan. I know we talked about the sidewalk, and I know.
I didn't see the changes yet.
Yeah, and I know that that for a project like this, that's substantial for the budget for the project, and I do appreciate it. So.
Want to talk about the stormwater since we're on this page?
Sure.
You want to talk about the stormwater since we're on this site plan?
Well, I'll go through the rest of the comments that I have in front of me. The sanitary sewer for Unit 2 connects without access. So what we've done, if you zoom in real close, you can see that we've added a cleanout next to cleanout number 1. Sewer number 1, there's been a cleanout added at that location, and that information shows up on the table for scheduled elevation.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Okay.
So that's been added. On DPW, on the 2 manholes in the street, what the first part of it is that they're going to require a sewer manhole instead of a lateral connection at that location. So we've added the sewer manhole, and there's also a drain manhole that's being proposed as well, and that's a combination sewer area. so that utilities run very, very close to each other. And what I talked to Ryan about today was the detail on the plan that we have right now is that would be just for the drain manhole, with the intention that you would maintain the sewer piping integrity through that area. You wouldn't have the sewer and drainage open. And the same thing would be in place in reverse for the sewer line. You would have the sewer line open for access as a sewer manhole, but you would keep the drain line closed. So what I've done is I've added a note to the plan that essentially says that during construction, we'll get out there with the DPW. The first thing we need to do is expose the lines and see, you know, how far apart they are to be able to design some sort of a structure to go around them. And then the condition of the pipe may be that we separate it internally, but we may end up putting a new section of PVC pipe in there for the or STR 35 pipe for the sewer, and maybe when we're doing the reverse with the drainage, it might be that we put a section of either PVC or HDPE pipe through the manhole, so that the piping, at least through the manhole structure itself, is at least functional. It's not going to crack or break or anything like that. And there are other ways of doing it, such as, you know, covering it with concrete and stuff like that as we go through. So there's methods to do that. So what I've thought would be appropriate was we basically just we work on that with the DPW directly during construction. Okay, but there's an acknowledgement that the sewer line will be closed in the drain manhole, and the drain line will be closed in the sewer manhole. Okay. On our details, we did change the specification for the sewer and drain covers to meet the specification of the City of Fitchburg standards. We cited the EJ Ironworks spec numbers that are on the sheets, and we also updated the manhole on top of that to require a minimum of 3 bricks versus 2, which was shown on the plan. We do have a trench restoration and patch detail on our plans. This was supposed to be attached when I got this originally, but Ryan did send that over later this afternoon. So we'll take a look at that and the differences between the two, and we'll kind of try to marry that to the Fitchburg spec to make sure that works. I don't see a problem with that, but that's something I just didn't have time to get to today. But all in all, I think that we're addressing the engineering comments relative to what's being done on the site, and I think that the plans have been updated accordingly. So to talk about the site itself, right now what we have is a driveway coming off Cruziak Avenue. Right now it's all wide open pavement, and so we're going to have a driveway coming in. Each of the units will have 2 parking spaces in front of it, along with a garage space within the building. So depending upon the measurement of the garage space when we get into the construction design of the buildings, it may be that we actually can count those as spaces as well. So we'd actually potentially could have 3 spaces per unit. We've added landscape into that. Well, the drainage basically, I'll try that for a second. Everything sheets to the northeast, if you will, and we'll go overland over the berm and into a infiltration basin area, which has been designed and sized for capacity for the various storm events, with an outlet structure that then goes out to the street for the drainage. The spillway that's there is an emergency spillway. It doesn't get used during typical storms, and we also did the higher level storm events versus the SCS methods or the SCS storm events. We've gone to the I think it's NRCC is what it's called, and those versus, it used to be like a 6.6 inch rainfall. Now it's like an 8.4 inch rainfall during the 100-year storm. Good. So this is taking into account the higher storm events that we'd be dealing with. So then water would come off of Water Street, and we don't know exactly where the existing service is, but what we would try to do is try to find that location first, and then we might shift the proposed water main north or south to have it be in the same location, so we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will, and disconnect the old main from the pipe and do our tap right at that location or right near it. So that may be adjusted in the field as well. With respect to if we can shoot now to that landscape plan that you had, Paul. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that came up during the meeting was relative to some open space on the property, along with screening and landscaping. So what this plan is intended to do is we've added a buffer screening around the property where we could fit it realistically with a evergreen arborvitae hedge, if you will. We are in the electrical easement, so this is going to be subject to Unitil's review. What I've put on there is that the arborvitae shall be maintained at not more than 8 feet in height, and that's a condition that can go on the permit, as well as if it is if these end up being sold as condominiums, those could end up being, that condition could go into the condominium documentation as well. All right, so that would be a maintenance thing, similar to the other maintenance that we'd have to do on the property relative to mowing the lawn. On the street side of that hedge at the intersection of Cruziak and Water, I'm showing a planting bed there to kind of break up between the sidewalk and the shrubbery. That would be, once again, low-growth plantings, but the varietals that would be planted there would be dependent upon nursery stock at the time the planting is done. We've also had that same designation in front of the units between the driveway and the building. You can see that darker green color is where we're targeting those planting beds. We've left the area between the drainage basin and the hedge as grass, just to have some open space for the someone had mentioned in one of our other meetings about putting up a swing set. Where would you put it? Well, that might be a good location for that to go. So that's a benefit that I think improves the site as well. And finally, we've added a row of arborvitaes along the south border against the neighboring abutter. We went up there after our meeting, and there's really no vegetation there right now at all. So I think that anything we do there is going to be helpful from both parties' perspectives. So that's really what we feel is makes sense to do. And once again, we have the street trees along the frontage and at the entrance to the driveway area. So all in all, I think that the plans submitted have now taken a step forward, which we're hopeful will be acceptable to the planning board. A lot of these remaining comments, I think that they could almost be conditioned as approvals for this project, because I think there's really not much more for us to do relative to the preparation of the plans. We have to go through these and stamp them and submit them, et cetera. But I think that hopefully you feel the same way, that we're ready to go.
Are you behind the chain link fence separating the truck yard? There's the arborvitaes. Are you putting any screening fence behind that? So, or the arborvitae is going to be tight enough to actually create a wall scenario? Do you have a vine fence or something along behind
we're showing those as being 8 foot on center, and those will grow and fill in.
Okay,
that's the intention, and that's one of the other reasons why you top them. Okay. Is because once you top them, they start growing out. Okay, so they might only be 4 or 5 feet at the time of planting, and then they'll grow. But we're not going to use the green giant ones, because those will grow to like 30 feet.
Right.
And we know that's not going to be allowed. Mm-hmm. But the spacing, if you put them too close together, then they kill each other. Mm-hmm. You got to put them far enough to let them grow into each other to come up with a screen long term. It's going to take 4 or 5 years for that screen to fill in. But there's already a lot of money being spent on the property.
But the intent is that they're going to create a green wall.
Correct. That's the intent.
Yep. Not just they're going to be spaced out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 feet on center is what we're showing right now.
I do have to say I'm impressed with the plan changes from where we met last week. Very well received. The one question I have, and this might be more for the board preference, I'm sure the developer would be more than happy to get rid of stuff. I almost think that the arborvitaes, and again, I'm just throwing this out there, but I'm almost think the arborvitaes that run along the frontage of Water Street, that this L shape here, kind of, that go from the driveway entrance up Water Street.
I like it.
I was just thinking, if you're driving down Water Street, there's no trees, then you have a line of trees.
You're not going to see it as set back. You're going to have low plantings, and that's going to be set back 15 feet.
Again, I don't feel strongly.
I was thinking the same.
But it's like the
same thing.
I was still just trying to buffer that
I
you
think
have a
buffering.
courtyard for just having that, like your swing sets, things like that, that you're buffering, giving some privacy to the people who live there.
Well, while I appreciate that thought, I care more about what it looks like from Water Street, because
When you're driving.
99.9% of the people are going to be driving down, looking at it from that.
I
And
wanna see
again,
some green.
so I'm not saying they shouldn't be there. I'm just saying I'd like the board as a whole to give their input on if they think it will be out of place. Because I almost think again, I like the ones along the Utz side, and I like the ones along the neighbor on the Kriziak side. It's really just from, basically this corner from the planting bed down to or actually even just, half of them, you leave a couple at the driveway. Just a thought.
We have a tree on either side of the driveway coming in. I do, to Paula's point, I do like the idea of closing it in a little bit. So it might be, maybe we replace that section of, we still have the planting beds in front, but maybe we replace that section of arborvitae's with like a post and rail fence or something like that. So there's a designated limit, because if you have some kids there, you want to tell them don't go beyond the fence or something. But I understand what you're saying.
Because I'll say, driving down Water Street, you see like a vinyl fence and that's snow. And then I did see a post and rail, and it's just like, it was out of place, kind of like scenario. But just having some green, and it's not even face green, it's like, it's kind of set back.
We'll still have green, but I'm thinking maybe in that
No, green is better than all the white, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like having like that.
In that one section, having just post and rail fence, just for, not along the, you keep
agree.
everything along the north border.
I think the post and rail.
I don't think so.
No? I agree. I think there's got to be something, because if you have kids, like you.
Right.
I get the
That's why I was
point.
thinking
I mean, I
about
get the point of them being there.
It could
I'm
be
just trying to think of.
Shorter arborvitae's, because it's like you could do a street view going down Water Street, and you'll see what the different fencing
maybe we
types
do a
are, and
different
you'll see,
planting.
be like,
Yeah, what
okay,
about a
when you see a
shorter
hedge,
one, like
the
a
hedge looks nice. Even the hedges look tall.
Yeah, more shrubs than
Yeah, so-
arborvitae's.
Boxwood, something that can grow 3 or 4 feet, but not 8 feet. I don't
Well,
know.
that's the shrubs in front, so go down Water Street this way.
This way?
Yeah, no, yep, you're going the right way.
Here's the-
Yep, go down. And then look to your right, wait, okay.
Sorry, I'm looking at it in different time than you're looking at it.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
There we
Like a
go.
delay right there. So, see, there you have a white vinyl fence along.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't-
happy to do the white vinyl fence. No problem.
I mean, so
I'm not-
I'm not crazy about that.
What about
Something like this
that? Yes.
might be okay. Because again, I think the point is you don't want to separate it entirely. You want to,
Make it.
you want to separate it for your tenants so that they have a safe space to play in and be in, but you also want to make it part of Water Street. So the one on the right, if you had a 4-foot vinyl fence, I could get behind that. Would you? I mean, if you rather trees, I'm okay with it. I worry that it looks out of place.
I don't think like a white solid fence is
No,
going to
not
be
solid.
good.
No, not solid. The one on the right.
The one on the right.
The
And even if you
4-foot.
put some shrub, and they'll have a shrubs in front of that.
Yeah.
Boxwoods.
Do something like that.
Well, because it would be on the other side of the.
What do you think about boxwoods along the frontage? That'll give you the green and give you the lower.
Yeah, the only problem is that's going to take even longer than 4 or 5 years to get to that, 4-foot.
Well,
Hedge.
my thought is that if you put in a picket vinyl fence in 4 or 5 years, it's going to need to be replaced.
Yeah. Well, that's that's usually why we do the 4-foot vinyl like that. Where granted, although the problem with Water Street is you're going to have fast traveling plows pushing wet snow that are probably going to destroy it, but they'll also kill
gonna be-
vegetation there too. So it's a tough
I think
thing.
it's going to be set back further than.
Why don't we just get rid of all the vegetation then?
Right.
Make it grass.
Uh,
I'm having a hard time. I feel like the whole board, I'm having a problem with this particular project on this end of this piece of property. I can't believe that we want to have people live on the corner of the potato chip factory.
Can we show the rendering of the property? It will be a little bit
Show the
easier.
rendering, but I have seen the rendering, and
I don't know. I feel that on
I'm
that
less
one.
impressed.
So may I comment?
Yes, let's see what we have.
Which one do you want first? This one? So this is facing the potato chip, Utz potato chip factory.
And these
Correct.
are three bedroom?
3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
3-bedroom, 2 baths each.
2.5. Correct.
And 2.5,
Yep.
and they're not apartments.
They're not apartments. They're going to be for ownership. So by way of record, my name is Harold Mateo. My office is literally right down the street from this location. I've been invested on Water Street for well over 12 years. I own several properties on Water Street, and it pains me to drive by my own lot because it looks very ugly. And we are hoping to make an investment to help improve the corridor that comes into Fitchburg on Route 12. We've done that with other properties that we own on Water Street, on both the side towards Leominster past the Dollar Tree and also towards the bridge at 447 Water Street. Different locations that I've owned that we have rehabbed. Why this? Because of the restrictions with the lot. I can turn around and put something here that is mixed use. In the bottom have office, business, and apartments up top, but really it's a really restrictive lot. If I was to go back in time, I probably would not have purchased this lot because of the restrictions, right? My thought was to actually make an L shape and make a lot of apartments, but I can't do it. I'm restricted by the lot because of the easement. So this right here is actually the best case scenario with the existing footprint that we have from the former KFC, which was already there. And it helps improve not affordability, but it helps improve bringing housing stock into the market, which we don't have. So that's kind of why. And I'm partnering with Habitat for Humanity for this project, and we're trying to focus on trying to create workforce housing and market rate and affordable all in one. My other option is to leave it like this. And
Paul, if you could just rotate that view over to the other corner of Kusiak Avenue. So there's already a residential structure right nearby.
Right next to it.
So it's not, the potato chip factory is, from there down, there's not much, but we're right on the edge. Okay, so it does make sense from that perspective of, and back to the original comments that we made, taking the building and putting it in the middle of the lot would have been a much better situation, except for the fact that you have a 200 or 300 foot wide power line easement going through that whole property. So what you'll see here now is you see the blue house on the left, and you'll be looking in forward, you'll be seeing right about where the cursor is. Mm-hmm. That's about where the buildings would end up being. And then we're putting the guardrail is not on our property, so that's how tight it is. So we'll have the arborvitaes along the right side. We'll have a landscape bed and new sidewalk and granite curbing along the frontage. So it'll really clean up the whole intersection. Is it the highest and best use of the property? Quite frankly, it may be, because of the fact that there's so little that you could build on it.
I do, to Amanda's point, and I think I kind of jumped over this because, so Paul and I had met with the applicant and Bill last week to kind of just go over some questions and comments we had, and I think because of that, for the sake of the board, I probably didn't mention what my thought process was when we looked at this, because the first thing I thought was the same thing you thought. So Paul and I had a conversation before we started this whole thing about what's our vision for Water Street, basically. And so part of that is
Not
in a
just our vision, like the city's.
Right. Yeah. When I say our, I mean the
Right,
planning board and the city
totally,
of Fitchburg.
yeah.
And part of that is because we talked about this on South Street at length for one residential property that we actually denied because we wanted commercial there. The conversation would be, well, in a perfect world, what do you want to see there? Okay. Given the uses that surround it, the first thought is, oh, well, maybe commercial. And then you start looking at, the building envelope, which is, I'm sorry, I had it paused, which is what Bill had mentioned here, which tucking a commercial building in the back left corner of the site probably isn't all that viable. I assume part of the reason why KFC never rebuilt when they did it was because it wasn't a very viable site for them, at least I'm guessing. Otherwise, why would you abandon the site? I looked at it, when you look at the aerial, you look at the area of Krisiak, directly behind it, it's basically the entrance to that residential area, so Valley, Krisiak, and all the side streets there. So I was looking at it more of, well, maybe this particular site, though it's on Water Street, is an avenue or the entrance to a residential area, which is behind it all residential homes, because I don't necessarily think that it, at least in this current environment, will support a commercial property that isn't, doesn't have access and frontage directly on Water Street. I don't know. I did think about that, and I think my thought process was I was okay with the 3-family given where the site is, what's behind it, and one of the big things we had told them is screening it from the neighbors and making it look nice. We went over a few conversations about, and I'm sure one of the things I'm going to talk to Harold in a minute about was making that elevation, making the house stick out, the building look nice. So that's where I came from, and I certainly get it. It was definitely something I had to think about at length before we met, but I think that I settled on that this use is, when done correctly, will be good there.
And I think to your point, Paul, is that if you look at that image right there, this kind of makes it so that you're locking in that corner as residential for that entire neighborhood, which, quite frankly, I hadn't thought about it in that perspective, but that's a really good point.
Harold, taking off on a point that you mentioned a little earlier, which kind of interested me, that you wouldn't have bought this lot if you knew about all the restrictions that were on it. Yeah. It would surprise me that the potato chip factory wouldn't want this lot, because it would make their lot complete. And did they ever express any interest in the lot at all?
No.
Never?
Sorry. No, never. Yeah, no interest. The lady I bought it from was going to put a restaurant there, but she went to Leominster. And that's kind of how I acquired it. Yeah.
Just a couple more comments on the project. And, there's a lot to like about the project. I have no problem with the placement of the 3 units on the lot. I understand the restrictions on the lot. I like your landscaping plan. I've always believed the more greenery, the better. I can pretty much buy just about any concept as far as Water Street goes. Whatever works there. I like the entrance off Krisiak Ave. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like the fact that you're offering garages for all of the units. Again, offering 3-bedroom units with 2.5 baths. That's practically unheard of today, so they're going to be pretty popular units. Yeah. I have to say, though, the one thing that bothers me about the project is the odd-looking building. It's just not a good-looking building.
Did you look at the I think
I looked at it.
Hold on, let me
did a new rendering because the first one was horrible. We had to change it.
Let me pull it up.
We definitely changed.
This is what you settled on, right?
Yes.
Harold, this one?
Yes.
And they're different colors, like different.
So we did.
Here's the elevation I'm talking about. Right?
So this is the side that faces the potato chip factory, and I can tell you, most of our conversation was just that, Peter. Was how do we get this building to look nice?
It's just especially when we're talking new construction, and you can do anything you want to that building with materials and design and features to really make it look special, and this doesn't.
So that's the side that faces Water Street.
Yeah, that I can buy. I mean, it's okay. It's the front that drives me crazy.
Well, and that's the problem, is that the front is driven by the location of the easement.
Where they have
the
easement line.
Yes and no. I mean, just quickly, that it's one flat front.
Yes.
The center section could be bumped out a little bit or recessed a little bit. Something could be done there to make it look like not a flat front. The window placement on the structure, to me, just looks haphazard.
We can tweak all of that.
Yeah,
it's not an issue.
It's just, that's the only thing that I want to mention about the project. I think the project in general is great for the area. It's going to fit well there. I would just love to see this building look a little better.
You know, but I would have loved to have seen the 3 garage units kind of like.
Yes, yeah. And I understand that won't work.
Yeah, it won't. But we can tweak the window placement. The bumping out, we're pretty much about a foot to where we can actually be.
And that might be solved with different kinds of materials.
Which,
Well, that's what we're trying to do
That's
here.
what we're trying to do here. So we're going to have a kind of like a brown siding and then a gray siding on the other one, and then shakes, if you look at the other view.
Yeah, so the top gable end are shakes.
Correct.
So you have 2 different colors that we had talked about here, and differentiating the
Darker gray and a lighter gray.
So on
Bill,
that,
hold on, before we get off that, just because I want to answer Peter's question, because Bill, we mentioned this, and Bill, you were talking about the building envelope, because I said recess one of them, and there's no room to recess any of the units, is that correct?
Well, if you go back to the site plan,
hold on one second.
So one of the things that I'm noticing, and I'm gonna have to make an adjustment to the plan anyways, because right now on our site plan, if you notice, we're not showing a roof line over the sidewalk where the goes into the building. And on the rendering, I just noticed there is an overhang. So that overhang may not be allowed because of the fact that that's going to end up being within the that overhang right there. Nope.
This you're talking about? The corner overhang?
No. On the go back to the sheet. See where the 2 doors are? Nope.
over the
Back to
porch?
where you were.
Oh, this one?
Nope. Back.
Oh,
to
sorry.
That one.
Right there, right in the center there.
That
See
overhang.
that's a roof covering right there.
Yep.
That's not going to be allowed.
What?
Because that's in
That's how tight it is.
That's in the easement.
That even makes it worse.
It doesn't work.
So
That's how tight it is.
so
It doesn't work.
well.
So this dotted line right here is the easement, Bill?
Correct. So it sounds to me at this point what we're talking about is the site is fine, landscape is fine. What are we going to do with the building to make it look better?
Right.
Okay. And I think what instead of us trying to guess right now with where we're at, I think what we do is we continue and we go back and we work on the building itself and see what we can do to the building itself to make it work.
And I can tell you from experience, because we've dealt with this many times, it's always best to have like 2 or 3 options and say, these are some suggestions that we think about, because this is all opinion-based. While I do agree with Peter, because, and Harold and Bill, you guys know that I think the first thing we talked about was the look of the building, or at least one of the strongest things beside the sidewalk. I wasn't aware of those porches, so we'll certainly have to iron that part out, because that was part of at least breaking up the...
Well, it might be that now we have to do is we have to go in. It might be that those doorways go in 4 feet. Okay, so that they have covering. But that also breaks it up. And it might be that the unit on the left, maybe we can drop that back 2 feet. Okay, and do some back and forth with that, because a lot of this is not only how are you dealing with it on the site, but it's also how you're dealing with the building with respect to its internal utilities and its internal bearing walls, et cetera, to make things work. So I think... really, what you want to do is you want to break up that long stretch of vinyl siding and the sheer straight look of the roof too. Yep.
If you could fit a 2 foot offset in the middle, and you break everything up so that they look like individual townhouses, that might go a long way.
Yeah. You could do one canopy and this might not be the best idea in the world, but it just came to my mind. You could do one short canopy, maybe 4 feet, that's going to start on the right of the right garage, cover it, and go all the way over to the left-hand side of the second door of the garage. That whole span.
Yeah, because we wouldn't be losing that much, because that's really just garage space and stairwell access, some storage. So, that might be something that we could take a look at. Where it might be, it's almost like you'd have a garrison front, so the garage door would be back a little bit, and you just have a 2 foot overhang, and it's enough to do it. But then if we can also do this with it, maybe put a gable over that center unit type of a thing as you're facing it to try to dress those things up. But I think message received, okay, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the building. We'll clean up the site plan stuff with DPW between now and the next meeting.
And I know this
But
is,
I think what we'll do is we'll try to take some time and try to get the building and get copies of the revised building over to you as soon as possible, so we can have, you can see where we're heading.
I know you're, and it's that tight, kind of like little L-ish. It's like whether or not, it's like, of course, ideally, if you had 3 units that could all face in the same direction, right? And you just like try to find the fit in the footprint.
I like the front of this, but I think
I don't mind the
I think
look of
this
it
front.
from- yeah.
I think this front
From Water Street. Yeah, I don't-
especially if it's done that way with a decorative
you
garage
have the
door
height.
and different colors, and you have 2 different. You have a
We just need
vinyl
some
shakes and
screening
vinyl.
over here.
Yeah, maybe shutters. I'm not saying that you need them, but maybe.
Yeah.
It kind of adds a little appeal.
You could simply even add like, I'll say, a little trellis piece or something over the gable, over the garage.
Maybe bay windows
the
in
door.
2 of the units or something, like Peter was saying, so you don't just have all the double hung
An
windows,
accent.
kind of, because they do kind of just from an elevation perspective, the double hung windows do kind of look like they're haphazardly all over the place, which I know they all have a
Not
place.
on this side, but on the other side.
Yeah, on the other side, on the flat side.
I understand windows in any development, they're dictated by what's inside,
Right.
but
We need to move what's inside.
kind of do your best to make it look a little more orderly, that's all.
Maybe they're not just single over single, but you've got a little bit
Yeah, you
more.
could do like, 6 over 1s.
Exactly.
Or something like that, just
Yeah,
to-
give it a little more character with that. Character.
It needs a lot of character to be in that spot.
We have a lot of characters.
I know, you do, but if I'm driving down Water Street, I want to, like, if something's going to be there and people are going to be living there, I want it to be a really unique, cool-looking, funky place where it's like, oh.
And I would say while you're doing it, if you want to take a look at that frontage and give a proposal for, if you don't want trees, it's up to you. If you want to keep I'm not fighting the arborvitaes. If you want to keep them, fine. It's just a thought
Even
that
like
I
a
had that.
Privet hedge.
We could take a look at alternatives and just propose them.
In some way, the owners of the condos might like a private area
Yeah.
up there,
Right.
so.
So, Amanda, back to what you just said about funky, okay? Now, funky being taken many different ways, and I think the first plans that Harold brought into you were funky, okay? But that was
I
not the good,
suppose
not the good, that was no good. But one of the things I'm thinking about as far as breaking up the roof line is there are some areas where we could do a flat roof with a vertical siding. It might be that we take the end that faces Water Street and keep it that way, and it might be that on the other units we do a flat roof section that has a vertical siding that goes up, so you have a different look from this side than you did from the other side. So,
Can I just tell you in the hallway, I don't like flat roofs and massive
I
roofs.
But you won't really see it.
well, in other words, to something that look
Hey, maybe it'll look good. Show it on the plan. Maybe it'll look good.
more metropolitan, I guess.
Right, that's, I
I'm
guess.
thinking more
contemporary.
Beetlejuice
Okay.
is where I'm,
In the middle. Second, yeah, we can change that in the middle. We can change the roof line.
I'm convinced with some in-depth thinking and some looking at some of the other projects. Like I said, if you have, I think relief for that middle unit, if you can find a 2-foot relief for something for that middle unit, that breaks up the roof from being one big long stretch and the siding from being one. That might go a long way, and then tweak the windows a little bit, like. We're
not that far off.
No,
but,
no. I think that, and the other thing too is, I think that once these are built, especially if there's an attention to detail like you have on here, where you have, you have custom doors and decorative garage doors and things like that. Those things matter, and as you do those and it's done right, it might look nice, but just tweak it a little bit.
And to Amanda's point too, it's like the first look at it and you go, why we do think residential at this location? It's like you see trucks in it and things. It's next to an industrial yard. It's also abutting like residential too. So you go, and then when we saw all the restrictions that are on this site location between the easements and the power lines, because it was like, well, what do you want to see when you go on Water Street? As you mentioned, like this L-shaped buildings, like, do you want to see a metropolitan, 3 or 4 story, right to the street type of a thing? What do you want? What are we trying to go for down on Water Street to redevelop at some point of this, and it's like, well, that's not going to happen here with all these easements and aspects, and you can only build on this small piece on that property, so, what can be done? And if it is like close to that residence as well for the abutter too, and if you can make it more of a, private area, again, for residences. And I also like the fact that it's not apartments, and it's going to establish some actual home ownership and equity for folks. That's important.
I did speak to a lot of the abutters and owners, and they were very pleased about having this there, and they were excited about it. So
sure,
just kind of
it's an
wanted to give
eyesore.
you some feedback.
Yeah. So I commend your initiative to do this, because that's a big undertaking for this site.
It's
with the
tremendous.
3 units. So
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but we got to do what we got to do. And I'm excited about the project, and I'm happy that Community Development Office they support the project. The mayor's office supports the project, and they want to see this cleaned up. So
Good.
I think that's nice.
any board members? This is a hearing, so I want to make sure I'm asking for public comment regarding this. Is there anybody? Lynn or Alex? Or anybody out there with their hands raised? Paul can see.
I'm not looking, but let me
No,
look.
there's nobody.
Okay.
Paul?
No, I don't have any comments. I'm just looking forward to seeing how this continues to progress. I think that area definitely could use something like this for the visual aesthetics and improvements. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this continues.
All right. As do we all.
This is a Lynn. I'm tend to agree with Amanda. When I opened up the documents for this, I thought, how are you going to build on this? Who wants to buy property that's facing a potato chip factory? And then I saw the renderings, and I'm having trouble wrapping my head around it. The other renderings, the newer renderings, look better, but I guess I'll have to go by the property and really look at it. But I'm just not sure. Sometimes there are lots that shouldn't be built, that shouldn't have anything built on it, and I'm not sure squeezing three townhouses or three units is the best use of it. It's the best use for, I understand when you buy property, you want to be able to make some money off of it, but I look forward to seeing what the next presentation entails and really hearing from the abutters in the neighborhood and seeing how they feel.
Was anybody virtual?
I got no hands raised.
Through the chair, while we have Nick here, just to make sure that we're, from the engineering perspective, that we're on the same page, I just didn't know if he had any more comments. We'll continue to work with Ryan on the change.
Nick, without putting you on the spot, is there anything you want to say?
No, I mean, I guess I'm happy to hear that they're willing to improve the ADA ramp or future ADA ramp opposite the property. Typically, when an applicant is touching an ADA crosswalk, we kind of look at it as a whole unit. One ramp on one side, one ramp on the other side, and then the paint in between. So we don't like to say, okay, fix this one ramp and then we'll leave the other one and do it later. We kind of look at it as a package deal. So I'm happy to see the applicants willing to at least make that ramp across the street, across Krisiak there, ADA compliant. Beyond that, all the other comments are pretty straightforward. Like Mr. Hannigan said, nothing really challenging there, just a few minor tweaks. I'm happy to see something done with that site. It's a little bit of an eyesore, and I think it completes the residential feel of Krisiak Ave, even though it's near the potato chip factory. It kind of completes Krisiak and maintains it as residential, and it locks that corner down as residential, like you said earlier, Paul. So I can see some hesitation approving a project right on the edge of the potato chip factory, and frankly, whether the applicant's able to sell these units, that's kind of his own business. But I think overall it'll be a nice complement to the neighborhood there.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Paula?
Yes. Can you come up to the could you come to the podium, please? And thank you.
You didn't come talk to me. I'm in a butter.
Oh.
Where are you?
I'm Harold. Thank you.
Could you just state your name for the
Yes,
record?
my name is Jessica Waugh. Pardon my voice.
Thank you. That's okay.
I live at 69 Chrissiac Avenue. We have a semi-formal Chrissiac Avenue Neighbor Association that I'm in charge of, that I run. And I came here with a totally different attitude and approach than I have now. And it has to do with the rendering, and it has to do with the trees that Mr. Fontaine mentioned. First of all, when Kentucky Fried Chicken blew up and caught on fire, that kind of killed it for Kentucky Fried Chicken at that corner, and that corner has been a mess for several years. I've approached Utz and I've approached M&M Trucking to see if they wanted to, because it makes sense in my head to take that over, because I know he has so many restrictions he has to go through, but they don't want it, and they're fine at where they are. I'm not here to stop the city from developing anything that the city's legally fit to pursue, and I'm not here to impede any developer. What sold me tonight was the greenery, because here's some things. I just made a list, and I did canvass my neighborhood. And what shocked me in canvassing the neighborhood is how many people had the same ideas. I thought I'd get tons of lists. They all said the same thing. Density is an issue. But the biggest issue is noise and light and traffic. If we didn't purchase window shades that they have in New York City that block out the sound, the people along that Bacon, we couldn't live there. That trucking place, and we all like them, we all get along, we're very friendly. That trucking place operates 24/7. They also have the lift that takes the trailer up in the air like this, that puts the potatoes down the chute. And that's like, but without those trees, you're playing into the Water Street semi-commercial, and you're going to have noise. So what sold me was the color rendering and the trees, absolutely, because everybody's concern was the density, was the noise. There's that big floodlight right there that they have to have. The traffic, the sidewalk, that intersection is a mess. The stop sign for that intersection next to the Blue House is like 10 feet before the road ends. So you got to kind of like bless yourself and run out from not getting hit. That stop sign needs to get fixed. We're glad to hear that it's going to be condos, not rentals. That's a big point for us. But the thing that everybody said that shocked me is the trucking. And we're not saying anything against the trucking owner. But if you didn't have greenery along that side, here you're going to have these wonderful condominiums, nice brand new project, boom, trucking. And when people come in on Water Street, I think they should see greenery. I'm sick of white plastic fencing too. But once you put an easement before the Unitil easement that's going to be greenery, you solved all the problems. And I like that coming in, because that does make it more of Chrissiac being a residential area. The other thing I need to tell you is that easement by Unitil used to be a path, probably like this. Now they get trucks in there, you know. And the reason why nobody could build on it, there's a gate back there. Have you seen the gate? Okay. That's a big problem. I'm not saying anything against Unitil or the trucking company, but he's really, really restricted. So if he can be creative and put trees up to solve the trees solved all these issues and have the greenery. So we'd certainly be in favor, particularly when they're going to be condos.
So is this the light you were talking about? So on this, if you look at the screen up there, so on this pole right here above.
Daylight.
Huh? Does
Daylight.
that face you? Is that light?
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not being funny. All of us that are along the banking, not when you go up Chrissiac, but when you turn the corner, everybody, all the way down to where the split is, where the Unitel comes through and there's a split. If we didn't research the shades they have in skyscrapers, I'm not kidding you.
So this one's facing you.
They're $95 each, just so you know.
Yeah.
And you have to pay extra if your window's a different size. So if we didn't have those shades, we couldn't live there.
I'm just curious if maybe a call to the Board of Health might solve this.
Already did it. Not going to happen.
Because this light should be downward facing, not.
Done. I don't want it downward facing. That it downward facing. I rather spend. I've got 6 windows on that
Okay.
side. Whatever 6.
If you're fine with it, we don't need to go there.
No,
I was
you know
just
why?
trying to.
Because people come up and hang out in that parking, that trucking thing.
So you want it as light as you
I want it to be daylight.
Gotcha. No problem.
But along the strip in front of his project, you have, J&R Glass.
Yep.
You have Family Dollar, which is up for sale. Yep. You have, when it went to new ownership, that,
You meant to say Family Cafe, right?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just didn't want anyone to think the Family Cafe's for sale. The other
Yeah,
one.
I know.
Yeah.
When you had new ownership on the car wash, things got a little less noisier because they used to have car clubs come in, and you could sit in my living room and hear music. But I'm a totally different. Everything you said about the trees, and then it's going to be condos. I'm a totally different person now approaching this meeting than when I was when I came in. But it's going to enhance Chrissiac Avenue. And we just let our bushes grow. We just get expensive shades. We just deal with it. That's it. So.
Well, it's not often we hear someone say that they changed their mind from the beginning of the meeting to now, but I'm glad you did. So.
Well, I have to say this. Everything that we mentioned, we were more concerned. It's not the potato chip factory.
Yeah.
It's that trucking.
Yeah.
Now, tonight when I came here, I counted 21 trucks in a row, and that parking lot wasn't even a third, full. But when they put that thing up in the air and roll that whole potatoes from Maine all the way down.
Another conversation for another day, but
yeah, but
thank
we're
you.
okay. Cause
I think it's good feedback for the developer, too, on just making sure there's good shades on the front.
Well, I'm not kidding you. We got shades. Those shades, when I saw those shades that they were for skyscrapers, for the wind and the noise, everybody got them. And they're expensive, but they're well worth it.
Wow.
But we're happy with this. So.
If that light is facing, it looks like that far light for the trucking is going to be facing directly to these. These are probably going to need those shades too, so.
Well, I think it's Overmore, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't it Overmore?
And according to this, it's right on the frontage. So there's
It's
one,
kind of more
there's one right there.
It's more towards.
The front corner, which points directly at.
Yeah,
kind of
where
this
you
way.
are, where you putting your little cursor thing, that's where I am.
Yeah, right. I know you're up here.
Yeah.
Right here. This one faces that way.
There's one in the back.
And that one faces that way. And
Yeah, we let all our trees grow. We don't trim our trees.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're used to the smell of potato chips, and we're
I
used
used
to
to my office was on South Street for forever, and it was like every other Friday. We would like smell it just for whatever reason. It was like Fridays we would smell it. And I
Well,
don't know.
now they're into, let me just say this. I'll leave you with this. Now they're into cooking Doritos.
All right. Well, thank you, Jessica. Was it Jessica?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this matter?
No virtual attendees.
Okay, and then again, that was another aspect of, with the greenery, whether it was going to be a commercial type of business, whatever type of building was going to go there. I think one of the factors my mind was, as long as it looks good from Water Street, like we just want to enhance this corridor for the development that's there. So, and it could go either way since it's a commercial and it abuts residential, so it's kind of not out of place.
I think we've made a lot of progress tonight. So hopefully we can go back and come up with something to adjust the building facades and the various sides of it to make it a better product. But I don't think that we're that far off, which is good news.
I agree. Yep. Research the landscaping, aspect to the frontage. That's, I guess, one of the important pieces. Look at the trees along Krisiak, right? Confirm that, I guess, at some point. And I guess I would still think about some type of, fencing, limited as it is, at least from the parking area, whichever, that's directly in front of those units to the, I don't know if it's going to make any difference. It's going to overlook it anyway, the yard. But, I'm not sure, again, how long it's going to take for the, arborvitaes to grow.
For the arborvitaes to fill in.
Something to think about.
Yep.
For that. But I think, important to figure out something on that water, that corner enhancement, and just what you're doing, even with what part, the sidewalk aspect there is going to enhance the neighborhood too, just because now it's actually going to define the corner that's not even defined. So I think that's going to go a long way to some public safety pieces right there as well. Enhancement.
Okay.
Make a motion to continue.
Second.
Motion's been made with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? All right.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you very much. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Have a good night.
All right, we have a third public hearing this evening. Let's see it. Oh, there he is.
Guys here.
He's behind the podium for me, so I couldn't see. We have a third hearing. We have a site plan review. Applicant, Paolo Carries, proposing to rebuild a three-family development with a parking plant in the RA zoning district located at 167 Canton Street. Good evening.
And if you bear with me for 1 second, Paula, I'll pull it up so that everyone can see what we've been dealing with.
So the back, I guess, in some of the background that I'm aware of here is that it was a former structure that had 3 units in it that burnt down. So it's pretty much a charred building location. And the applicant got a special permit from the ZBA to reconstruct a 3-unit building. It is not on the same footprint. That's the current, right? Yeah.
This was the assessor photo, so I think this was right after the fire.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show people what it looked like.
So that was that building. So far different from probably what we're seeing. So that's it now, what we're seeing this evening. So that being 3 units, also we'll say the 3 units didn't have parking as the required amount of parking. We're lucky, probably had 2 spaces. So with these, the building site plan in front of us is looking like a 3-family structure with a minimum of 6 spaces, and it looks like on this updated plan, 8 spaces off-street, and one of the initial plans that was provided to the board did show like 6 spaces that backed right out into Canton Street, and there was definitely an issue of backing out into Canton Street. There was like pretty like a wide open and just backing out. And DPW was bring to the attention, it's like they can only have like 2 driveways at a maximum width of 24 feet for a curb cut. So with working with some of those parameters, that was what it was originally.
I think it's important to note for the board, and if there is anyone here for this project, that because the property was destroyed by fire, so city code allows for a property to be rebuilt on an existing footprint if it was destroyed by fire within 2 years. The applicant could theoretically build 3 units on the existing footprint and build them up and not have to do any parking or anything else. By going through this process, he already went to the zoning board, got an approval. Our approval isn't for the use, it's for the parking and the corresponding site. Our kind of focus is the ZBA approved the 3 units. We're looking at, does this solve the parking issue that 3 units create? And I think it's important to note that theoretically it could be rebuilt anyway, 1 unit on top of another with no parking, and we'd be in a far worse situation than this solution that comes up here, which is this new parking plan, which we just got the other day, which shows so unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, or however you want to call them, and the corresponding 2 parking spaces that all pull into the site and don't back out onto the street. So I just wanted to make that comment and clarification.
But there was parking in that
There were
one.
there were like 2 or 3
Well,
spaces.
there was like a driveway on the right-hand side.
Right, but for like 2 cars. So,
Oh,
I mean, we can bring up-
I don't think it was used, but I always remembered it.
Well-
I grew up across the street, well, diagonal.
There were 2 spots there before? Yeah, that's what I remember.
Oh, that only fit 2 over on the right hand, if you're looking at it?
Yeah, we can bring up,
So,
Yes, the
so
one.
right here, hold on. Here's the street view from before.
I thought it would have fit.
Here's the
more.
street view from
Yes.
before the fire.
Oh, maybe I thought it went.
So you could probably, you could park on the grass and maybe fit 3, 4, 3-ish.
Once you get off that blacktop where the grass is,
It goes
in
down.
the side.
there's a manhole for the sewer, so
Yeah.
you gotta be careful
Yeah.
about parking.
Yeah.
I told the previous owner about that.
Yeah.
When he had his,
Can you back out?
removing the trees, I didn't want to see him like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He probably had a
So-
feeling that it was 4, because once that tree was cut, now it goes deeper down, so probably like, oh, now he fits 4, but.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the tree was there at one point.
So, as I said at the start of that, the ZBA has already authorized the 3 units. Then it comes to us for, do they have enough parking for 3 units? So that's what we're here for, parking, landscaping, and
yeah, the site
the site itself.
aspect.
So,
Why don't you tell us what you're going to do here?
Also, I'm putting a, do you have the other picture that shows?
Oh, the
actually outside?
elevation?
I just want to, I want to know if he wants to see anything. Do you want me to zoom in on anything? Is there anything you want to see?
No, I was just so I can read the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
So I can tell you any numbers you want because I can zoom in here. There's 2 driveway widths at 24 feet wide. So 2 driveways 24 feet wide, and the parking spaces meet our minimum, which is 9 by 18, I think, 9 by 19, whatever. I always
Which dimension is he
confuse that.
interested in?
What's that?
Which dimension is he interested in?
Yeah, right. That's what I was just asking. Is there a particular dimension you want?
No, I was just curious to see what it was from the front of the house to the street.
It's 20. Okay, 30 feet 4 inches to the edge of the street.
When we were speaking, I speak to him quite often.
Perfect.
Very nice guy.
Like I said, I just want to give you whatever answers you're looking for. That's
I was just curious. I didn't want to interrupt you guys talking. I just wanted to give a mention.
no worries. All right, Paulo, what would you like to see up?
The new one that was just updated, that shows, that's the.
So this is the most revised one that I have, I believe.
You don't have the.
Oh, hold on.
project.
You and I just talked about this outside.
It's like a
Hold on.
14 or-
So I have 426. This is 27. This might be
Revised park.
more recent. I think this was the one I just had. Yeah, this is the new one. It's got your
Well, there's
trash
more
bins
elevate.
there.
There's like one that's got like 12 pages to it. So.
Yeah, there's one that shows like in a 3D,
All right.
kind of see the front of it.
All right. Well, I have the 3D renderings. Not that one. Let's
Not
see.
that one.
So site plan is what I just had up. Revised parking, alternate parking, site plan.
Wait,
There we.
Right there,
that's the
Dan.
one.
This is the one you want?
Yeah, the very beginning of it,
Almost.
right there.
Well, that's not. That's the 6-car one.
No, yeah, there's one that shows, they even shows the telephone pole in it.
Yeah, this is the one. So just note this. So on this plan here, we'll see it. I'm not sure.
So yeah, this is the one I was telling you about outside, where it says electric pole to be moved. See right here.
Right, yeah, because
And he was saying it's not
a
actually
lot of
there.
this was like last minute to me.
It's not actually
No.
going to be there.
No.
No, here's hold on. Here's the plan. Here's the plan you and I talked about outside, I think. This has the utility pole outside of the driveway entrance, and it's not on that right hand. There's not one on the right hand. He says this.
But there is one next to the blue house.
It's only one in front of the house.
No, there's not. There's one. This is.
It's
look
that
the
one.
other way.
That's
other
the
way.
only one.
Look the other direction.
Oh, but that's
not my problem.
That's way down. His property ends here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the other one. Okay, go back.
So this one is
Oh, it is on the.
this one right here. Oh, excuse me. No, that's the wrong plan. I keep going back to the wrong plan.
Well, you know what? I was.
This one right here,
deal
Paula.
about a telephone pole that didn't exist.
So this one right here, and he said it's outside of the driveway entrance.
Excellent. He's like, I've got that solved.
I did. I updated. I mean, it was very hard to get these people to change the project last minute.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't know if you still didn't get the last one.
So this is I mean, Chantel, unless you have a different one, that's the most recent one.
It should be
Is that the one you emailed me?
The one she
Yeah.
emailed had two.
Okay,
One
hold
of
on,
them
let me
had
go
a
back to my
one-page,
email.
And one of them had like a 14-page set.
Let me go
Yeah,
back
that's
to my
the
email.
one.
I thought
Hold
that's
on,
what I
hold on.
uploaded, but
So there were
could
two.
have missed something. I don't.
No, that's the one I emailed you.
He
Hold on. Here's the file.
were two attached.
That's the one, final. Yep.
This is the right one from
That's the
Saturday?
way.
No, that's still the old one.
That's the old one.
Hold on, I got about a million emails here. Let's see which one's the right one. Monday. Okay, so it's this one right
I
here.
have to say-
Here it is, final site plan.
We,
This is it.
well, that's the
The
one
other one
pager.
with the
It was very
14
close. It
pages.
was on the same.
It's on that same one.
There you go, maybe.
That's the one right there.
Okay, I don't know how this was different from the other one I had up, but good
The
for you.
telephone forward
The
shows
telephone-
on that.
All right.
On the front page rendering in that,
Oh, on the front page rendering?
too. There's that in here.
Or is there left there? Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not actually not in front of the entrance of the driveway now.
Now you can see it to the left.
Also, I'd like to bring it up the fact that on a 3D, the way it shows with the landscape, there is no curbing, but that was never I still don't have the intention of doing like on a flat from the street, even in between when those two cars park front to front in the middle on that landscape aisle.
What are you talking about?
I gotta bring that up. It's always been in my mind that needs to be higher. Otherwise, people would just drive right over.
So what we're,
Go from one side to another.
Okay.
So the whole landscape and the front of the sidewalk, I am doing a curbing, but it's not gonna be out of.
So what you're talking about, and he was just telling me this outside, is all of this area around the landscaping is going to be raised up. It's all going to be raised curbing so that the driveway is delineated. He said it doesn't specifically say it. He said, but it's going to be raised up, that all the landscaping beds are going to be raised up off the ground. So you know where the driveway is, and you can't drive from one driveway to the other driveway.
really need to see, it just, that when you're doing your parking lot area, the curb, that you have another curbing that just goes along, like the frontage part of that, the frontage.
Right.
So it's not just flat to the street.
No.
So the curbing needs to just wrap around, and that curbing needs to define the driveway. So it's going to come out and it's define the driveway.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's going to flare out and
Because
go around.
as I don't know if you've been on the street much, but when it rains, there's a lot of water that actually flows
Right.
that way. So if I go flat, all that water
So-
would just be going
So
towards
where your
my land.
like, do you see the concrete wall there now, the little one?
Yeah, just like
Where
that.
that is, you're going to have a rate, like, this is what I'm hoping, right, thinking, that you're going to have like an asphalt berm going around to keep all the landscaping beds and everything in there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of
because-
like what's there now, but it's just going to be the 3 feet in front of the street. And then with the opening, at 24 feet for the driveway.
Yeah.
And I'll continue that also on the other side.
So when we're saying we need to see roundings in DPW round, it's kind of like we need to just showing on the plan that you have the curbing going around to define the driveways there, because it's just a line. It doesn't say what it is. You're going to have a curbing. That's all.
Yeah, like I said, I get it that it needs to be specified, but me, it was never on my mind actually to do it on a flat. I was going to do it.
Yeah, perfect. So just make a note.
Make a
Just
note.
Make a note that the delineation along your property line and the driveway roundings are going to be shown on the plan.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt, like you were talking about this center landscape thing, and I think it makes sense. He was telling me outside that he was thinking of raising it up between the two parking
Yeah,
lots.
that doesn't need curbing. It's the curbing that really along the street to keep your landscape in place.
Right. What I was just saying was, he was talking about separating it. I thought it was a good idea. If he wants to do that, add it to the plan. If not, fine. Just make sure that the driveway is designated. This is driveway, and you're not supposed to drive over this. That's the whole point. So whether it's asphalt berm or whatever you decide, just make a note on the plan. Again, along this whole frontage here, and then these roundings. I had sent this image to Paulo after we talked, Paula, basically showing these roundings here with a raised bed, that the plan should show something like that. It should show
Well-
the driveway entrances.
I'm so much, see that where you put the blue on the backside, that goes in the front.
What are you talking about?
See where you, the dark blue line there?
Yep.
Right, I know that's the bed. Put it to the front, to street side. It's holding the landscaping in from the street.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You run, yeah, you just,
Yeah.
you flip it, right, you flip it over so that,
Did you
right.
flip it over
You-
that
No,
way?
you're right, yep. I was basically thinking of that landscape was kind of like a landscape island, so that was put up, but yes, I
Yeah,
get you.
but you're going to lose it.
As long as, Paulo, as long as
You
you
need to
understand
have-
what Paula's saying.
You have something there to hold it back from the sidewalk. That's all I'm saying.
And there's snow storage, there's, the trash bins are here, and they're screened. The screening will be vinyl screening, although you didn't make a note, that's a permit condition that we
Where
do
is the
for
snow storage?
all property. So it was listed on the last plan as on the other side, so basically you plow through here. It was actually where these two spaces ended up being, but it basically, it'll be this small landscaped area here that you plow onto, and then same on this side.
One on the other.
It was on your last plan, I think she took it off.
It was the whole area. So,
Yeah, she took it off when you did the parking spaces. It should still say this is where snow's going.
It does, actually. So it's either, so just to try to make it even, the way she did, it was like 4 on one side, 4 on the other. And on the very left side, where those 2 parking spots are, they're like
that's a
visitor
little-
parking and snow removal areas. So it's,
Oh, it says, this is the new plan. It says area for depositing snow or visitor parking.
because they could use in the summer. I mean, it would just be
Extra parking.
extra
Or if we have
spaces,
another winter
parking
like
spaces.
then.
Right. And we had talked about, so these retaining walls, any of the retaining walls that have a drop are going to need a 4-foot fence. And we talked about that be the vinyl coated chain link, so that, because the chain link doesn't weather all that nice.
Unless you're going to do a vinyl fence
Right, which I,
Okay.
on top. And what are the board preference?
I mean, quite honestly, I prefer for those, you prefer chain link because they're more durable and it's a safety hazard. I mean, it's there for safety. So although vinyl fences look nice, they're not as safe and secure as, that's why we talk about the, the chain link fences that have the spray vinyl coating on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like just that way
Matter of
they
fact,
weather nice and they look nicer.
Well, I'll
matter
just
of
say
fact-
that piece right there, though, is where the trash is, should probably be getting the same material clash.
Yeah.
You think?
Sure.
All the way across.
Sure.
That's your preference.
And I'm glad that you moved the trash, because the trash on the porches was just like not attractive to what you were doing. Everybody's going to have to go to your front door and have the trash receptacles was like,
Yeah. Matter of fact, you were bringing up the fence, the vinyl fence above a wall. Well, last year we were here for a different project, and you guys wanted to put a vinyl fence in it, and it's on 14 Highland Ave.
Yeah.
And
happened.
through the snowstorm, the guys are doing the plowing.
People that plow up against it are going to
Hit
destroy it.
up 2 sides of the fence. I mean, it looks very bad because they just don't have any strength to them.
Yeah.
So it just came off, and it's
okay.
on the other side of that fence is 4 feet down, so it's kind of like a hazard there. And
So I'll bring that back. It's like, I can see the vinyl enclosure for the trash, right? And then if you had the chain link where the parking is, because that is going to be for snow too, and it's going to push against it. Is that appropriate to have the chain link behind, right next to see where the trash storage is? It's
Yeah,
going to continue.
I think the chain links.
Because that's going to be snow storage, and it's
Yeah.
going to like push against it anyway, and actually could probably push them through the fence, but that way.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
That way. You can put some plantings there,
Yeah.
too. Well, you have it, that's supposed to be a landscaped area, so you can put some plantings along the fence,
right.
like that, too, or grass.
What little grass you're going to need
I do
for
like
residents.
your, I know the front had the rendering, like you had the landscaping of the low shrubs, and I would say continue that for your frontage of that,
Sorry, I was
in
trying-
front of the building, because I think that's a good relief as well. I was glad to see that you did put in like the little, like a hammerhead piece, so that you could actually back up to come out was kind of key. So, and that allowed you to put some more landscaping against the building, which I thought is also a plus.
I actually use also 20 feet for dimensions for a car, which is more than actually the requirements are. But every car there, it's actually sized at 20 feet in length. So actually, you would, even at 20 feet,
You could kind of back
you
out
still
straight.
can back it out and drive into the street, and without, with plenty of
Can do
space.
that.
It's not going to be like a tight spot that you have to do like a 3-way turn or a 5-way turn.
Great. Glad to see that.
Going to be an improvement.
Part of the, just for the board, if you saw just kind of the genesis of why we got to where we got, the original parking plan had either this, which was 3 driveways of 2 spaces backing out into the street, or 6 separate driveways was one of the other ones. And our code does not allow more than 2 driveways for one property. So that's why we went back and forth so many times, and that's how we got to this.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then backing out onto Canton Street. Canton Street's like a racetrack, so.
yeah, it's funny because that was I think the first thing we heard of the
No, it's
speed there is
terrible.
tough. Yeah.
Terrible.
I said it could be worse. You could be on the 400 side. The other side of Romano's even faster, but but that's okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the house looks, the construction looks nice, the landscaping looks nice, looks like plenty of parking. Again, I had a big issue on the first plan because it showed a utility pole in the middle of the driveway opening, which doesn't exist. Because I was like, we can't approve a plan with the utility pole, so, that myth has been busted. There is, it looks like proposing other retaining walls on the property, and to the right, Paul, you want to shift it to the right?
Yep.
We spend a lot of time looking at the plan.
Mhm.
There's a retaining wall over to the right, so, and there's going to be a fence on top of that as well.
Yeah, I have to.
What's the black, is that, you said retaining wall there, but is it really in a triangle shape like that, or what's that, like?
Are you talking about along the property line, Paul?
No, to the left, like the solid line. Is that the retaining wall? It looks like a C.
No, yeah, that was just by.
There's an old retaining wall there.
Who is?
Yeah, that'll all be removed, though. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Oh, these are proposed plans, though. This isn't, this is
That's the
actual
right
site
side.
conditions.
I think the retaining you're talking is on the left side.
So this one says retaining wall, too.
So
Concrete retaining wall, 4
What I'm
feet.
expecting is, so there's another house to the right. This is actually going to kind of go into that part of that yard that's there, because it's your yard.
The one in the middle doesn't really get anything. It's like.
So I didn't know
But
what,
it's just-
so I just wanted to point out, there's going to be a retaining wall there, and probably with the fence on top of it, because it exceeds the height, too, on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
I
I
just
see.
didn't know what to expect, because it's in the shape of a C.
Yeah, there isn't one on the long length there. That's where the stairs are.
Oh, you're talking
They
about
go
here.
towards the back because
Right.
of the elevation. So if you're in front of the street
Okay.
and the back of the house, the difference is about 16 feet, I think.
I was going to say that whole property is.
Right. So that's the first retaining wall by the driveway, by the parking lot there. So that would create the whole front of the house, the whole building, kind of like on the flat side. And then you drop, so you go down, there's a set of stairs on each side of the building going down. You go down the steps, and then that left side or the right side next to it, it's also going to be flat. And then you go straight all the way to the back of the house, and there's another set of stairs, which there is another retaining wall there. And then the whole back is also going to be somewhat flat. So it's 3 different elevations. That whole back where the decks are,
So if I'm number 169 on the right, though, what am I going to see? I'm the house on the right.
you're going to see all the elevations, all the retaining walls.
But is it just going to be from here, like one retaining wall? Because again, I'm just saying it looks like a C.
Oh, I'll have
Is
to
it-
put a
is this-
fence
is
on
this-
top of it, because
Yeah, but is it going to like shape the yard that's back there now? Or, because I'm just wondering about that, that's all.
I'm actually wondering
kinda
what's
odd.
going to be left of her yard, because she actually built a lot on my property.
Right.
I didn't know, and now with this project, I'm actually going to be somewhat, not invading, but getting it back what's mine.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that. I was just looking at that when you see how it looks like.
Is it going to be like a courtyard?
You're
Is
carving
that
it
what
out
you're
like a
saying?
courtyard, right?
Is it going to be
a
like
courtyard,
they're
for the yard.
looking at 3 walls? How high is that on their side? Is
Right.
that just it says 4 feet?
I think it's going to be like 5.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
5.5 feet wall, and then it's flat, another 5.5 feet wall, then it's flat. It'll be some.
But it's still on your property, so it's still going to look like their yard, is what it was. Almost look like that. Okay. That's what because rather than just, here's a retaining wall, it's like looking like this piece, just kind of like, what is that? Explanation. Okay. Do board members have any questions for the applicant?
Looks good.
Thank you.
Nice-looking building. Normally, we're telling people to improve the looks of it, but I can't see anything I want to add to this.
Do you have the front of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put it-
I kind of like.
Give me 1 second. I'm got something else on my
And
screen.
the guy that was here earlier, I mean, as soon as you mentioned the whole roof in one elevation, that's what this was at first too.
Oh, really? Okay.
When they create the project, and I'm like, absolutely not. You kind of have some differentiate
Right.
each building one from the other. And on this one, actually, the center building is actually higher.
It's like you just go
So
up
you
the table,
see
too?
the elevations. It's like this is one building.
I was doing
It's
something else in the
not one
background.
There we go.
Long roof.
Yeah.
There we
That's
go.
gonna look
Yeah.
nice.
You've added just about everything that could possibly be added.
We've got some nice columns there. There's different color. There's different reliefs going on. Floor.
I mean, I'm trying.
That's great.
Are they 3-bedroom? How big are they?
Yeah, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
The floor plans are in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's 2 baths.
And are these going to be apartments or condos?
They're gonna be. I'm gonna rent them, so it's gonna be apartments. I don't have an idea. I don't have anything in mind right now to sell, create a condo, anything. But
First floor.
can't say no. You don't know the future.
Right.
3 bedroom, 3 bath. There's 2 on the second floor, and there's 1 on the first floor. 3 bedroom, 3 bath, and an office.
Oh, 3 baths?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, because this is a full bath here on the first floor.
Actually, I want to do 4 bathrooms.
Okay.
What's that?
My idea was to do 4 bathrooms. I like to do. Each bedroom has its own bathroom. That's how it is in my house too. But
And we know there's a large drop-off in the back, and he's going to put porches, and I guess he's also planning to landscape the rear to actually level it out to actually have a usable yard in the back.
Is that back still really wet?
every time it rains, it's just the way it is.
Because that used to be, we used to
Oh, yeah.
call it, we used to go ice skating down on the.
Really. I'm surprised that's not a wetland.
Yeah.
I'm surprised too.
Yeah.
Over in that where it used to be the swamp, that's why it doesn't back up into the back of the house anymore. Well, we owned the property for years. So, and I was a kid, we used to go ice skating where Tracy was saying there used to be a swamp. But years ago, they put a drain in all the way down Valley Street, in that pond, that there's water there, but not a whole lot like there used to be. And his property, I'm gonna say, when we owned it, it was never wet.
Would you like to come up and speak regarding the project? Just you for the record, I'll get you on there.
I'm just saying, my name's Michael McGrath. I live at 154 Canton Street. We used to own the property, so I kind of know what's going on over there. And so what question did you want? Did you have a
Well, whether or not you had any comments regarding the project.
Oh, I'd like to see it move a lot faster. I have a couple pictures here that I've been looking at for 2 years every time.
So
I
you're
go out
so
my
you're in
door.
support of the project?
Yes.
Very
Good.
much, sir.
Perfect.
And I'm kind of just joking with you a little bit, but we have to help the gentleman out, and you have to help us neighbors out also. He's been working hard on the project. He spends a lot of time there, And now I don't know, he hasn't been around a whole lot. I don't know if it's because of here or whatnot. But it's like any construction project, he has a dumpster there. Well, if people today doesn't see any movement around that construction site, now we have people just throwing trash, and it starts to look like the dump. When I go out my house, if I wanted, all I see, that's what I see every time I go out my house.
Okay.
Every time I go out the house, that's what I see.
Yep.
Yeah, so you want to get moving.
No, well, and that's what I'm saying,
Yep.
It's not his fault.
No.
He has a dumpster so he can work, but like I say, I've been in construction all my life, I know how that works. If you have a dumpster, even if you put one on your property and
Yep.
leave it for a couple nights, it's gonna
Been
get
there.
full, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So that, I have no problems with it, very nice guy. If I have any questions, he answers them, helped me out a few times. I'm for the project.
Good.
No doubt about it. I really don't care what he does there. I just like to see, when I go out my front door, something that is not trash.
I want to see a nice new building there too, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Nick, do you have any comments?
Nothing on this one beyond what's already been submitted by engineering and water.
I did want to reiterate, so obviously Ryan and I emailed back and forth when we had conversations about their DPW's concerns with backing out onto the street because the traffic was bad. And so I emailed Ryan the most recent plan on the 21st, whenever that was, and he replied back and said the revised curb cut and parking configuration you're presenting can be permitted. And then he just goes on to say, if they submit it, we can get it approved for your project. So, though not my project, but you get the gist. So it seems like, from what I gathered, the concerns that engineering had at the beginning were more or less alleviated from the most recent set of plans, which I think were pretty substantial change.
Yeah, I mean, our initial concerns were more than one curb cut, or more than two curb cuts, rather, would be challenging to permit, and then a configuration in which we're encouraging vehicles to back out directly into traffic. Might work for some properties, but for Canton Street in particular, I heard mention earlier of it being kind of a raceway, and that's absolutely true. And we want to try to discourage that to the greatest extent possible. I mean, if it's the only way development can move forward, that's one thing. But if an alternate configuration can be substituted, that would be preferable, and that's what the applicant's done here. So many thanks to taking a fresh look at this.
Thanks, Nick.
And I did see in the DPW comments, just be mindful of, you have to still submit a utility plan for the layout of the water and sewer connections.
They somewhat marked on that last
Yeah, it just
one,
shows a
but
line.
it's-
They want to
I
see
don't know
it in.
exactly
Yeah, so
location, but
you're going to have to, that was one of the comments they made, is like to actually, where is it in the street, show the connections, show the sizes, you have to.
right.
Of the
So
connection
I think the right way to handle this, because you solved the biggest issues, is we vote on it. If the chair's okay with this, I'd like to make a motion after we're done, which we haven't closed the public hearing yet, but when we do, I'd like to make a motion that if we vote on it tonight, that it would be subject to two things. You showing on the plan the raised curb cuts and landscaping beds that you plan on doing to delineate your parking and the driveway entrances, so that it shows that they're raised up. So that shows on the plan. And a separate permit condition would be that you submit a utility plan that's satisfactory to DPW and engineering when you negotiate that with them, when you get, because I agree with you. It probably, part of that will be, you'll have to do more research on site as far as excavation and where you're going, and I don't know exactly when that happens. You'll have to talk to DPW and engineering about that, but the condition will be that you provide them with a utility plan at some point in the future.
Yeah, and I'm sure get Ryan on site if he ever gets approved, just to try to either Ryan or Nick.
Yep.
But yeah, just to try to go over that. I'll have a plumber. I mean, I don't have a plumber yet for this, and they would probably find what the best and the locations for it.
Okay. Yep, keep with the landscaping that you've, like, not here, with the shrubs that you put all in the frontage and everything like that. Show the berms.
Just grass.
Utility plan.
Just grass.
Just grass, shrubs, mulch. You can grass in the ends, but in your site, in your rendering there with the, it's going to be like would be I think more in grass enhancement.
And just one more thing, that utility site plan is typically submitted alongside a building permit. So it's not something that we need to see right now, but it's something that we need for our records so that, 20, 30, 40 years from now, we know how the building's connected to the water and sewer system, essentially. That's why it's important on our end.
Gotcha. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you want to do one last call for public comment?
Yes. Is there anyone in our virtual world
Or
who
here?
would like to comment? I know that I'm there, and then I'm going to look up. Anyone here else would like to speak? No?
I got no one virtually that
All right.
has a hand raised.
All right. Does the board have enough information this evening? We've got feedback from the departments as well.
Yes.
We're all good? Okay.
As a side note, I probably should just note that, because I noticed it kind of like we don't usually get Board of Health comments, there was one for this. It says, fire damaged property strongly support rehab. And on that note, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion's made to close the hearing with a
Second.
second. And all those in favor say aye.
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 And all those opposed? All right.
I will make a motion to approve. I got to pull this back up here.
Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for 167 Canton Street. This is just a site plan, right? Not a special permit?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for 167 Canton Street. It would be subject to the modification of the plan and to be presented to our principal planner to show the elevated berms and roundings along the property line, defined driveway roundings, and providing to the DPW or building department, whoever requires it, the utility location plan at the appropriate time. And then I didn't know, Paul, if you wanted to add a condition about the type of fence, or are we just okay with them determining what's adequate? I'm kind of back.
As long as there's a vinyl closure around the trash aspect there, hiding the trash, does the board have any preference on any other?
So vinyl fencing around the trashed area would be a permit condition.
Yes, yeah.
And then you had said, Paul, you just want to make sure that there's a condition that shrubs and mulch are added to those landscaped areas, which
Right.
I think makes sense. Aside from that, that's what I got.
Second that motion?
A motion's been made with a second to approve the plan, and we're going to take roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. Thank you.
So
Thanks for all your work.
just when she gets a chance, your engineer, I think you said it was a she, when she gets a chance, just have her modify the plans to show those things. So there should be a note on it about the vinyl enclosure for the dumpster, the raised areas to delineate the driveway entrances and the property line, so showing what's elevated and what's not. Show that on the plan, and then you can, like I said, just worry about the utility plan when you talk to the DPW. You'll have to get that at some point in the future.
And we'll get your plan and write the decision.
Yes. How long does that usually takes to actually be on paper, ready for me to try to get my building permit?
Can take a while. It can take.
Like I told you outside, I would just keep up with Chantel, send her some emails, see if you can get updates about when it's going to go. Unfortunately, we talked about this, you still have to wait for ZBA, because we need their decision too.
You need that decision, and then we need the updated, just tweak to the site plan piece, and then we can work on that.
Okay.
So I would follow up with ZBA first.
Yeah, I do have deadline, which I don't want to just try to fight for it. I mean, the city seems to be pretty forward with this. It's just that I don't have anything in writing yet, and I'm like running out of time.
Well, most important is your ZBA decision.
So I will say one thing. You don't have anything in writing, but both of these votes are binding.
Right.
Both the ZBA's vote and our vote, regardless of whether if we don't write a permit decision or the ZBA doesn't, you legally have a right to build this project now. But you can't build a building permit until you get the special permits. So obviously, you follow up with city, but the fact that the votes were taken both the ZBA and here is about as solid as it gets. It's just, you got to wait for the red tape of the paperwork, which is not easy.
You need the written decision to just get your building permit.
Right.
So I can start and make my neighbors happy.
If you, there's a possibility too, and
So
maybe
here's-
Chantel in the building department.
Here's the aspect, though. The ZBA, once you get that decision, there's a 20-day appeal period. They're going to write the decision, they're going to file the decision with the city clerk, and then there's a 20-day appeal period. After the 20-day appeal period, then if there's no appeal, which someone, a butter or whoever wants to appeal it, actually would appeal it to a court if they had any issue with the project for a special permit.
Yeah, that was January 9, so going to like 2 months now. I'm just, I get it. I understand all that.
Yes.
It's just
trying to get.
I know you're getting anxious.
We're trying to just tell you what the timeline is on that. So that when you get that permit, that's going to be filed. Then you'll be notified. There'll be a 20-day appeal period. Then they'll sign off on it. No one's appealed, and then you're good to go with that. And then you'll have your site plan. There's no appeal There's no appeal period on the site plan. That can just be filed right away.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
But you can't do one without the other.
Yeah.
It behooves you to just stay on people, call, email, whether it be Mercedes or Christine or our staff, and see, whatever. Give them give them the deadlines you hope to meet, and we'll hope to meet those deadlines. Okay?
On my end, I can probably provide this by Friday, all your requirements, the little extra stuff. It's just, now I'm going to be like, okay, I have submitted this 30 days appeal, and that leads me.
I know. So we can get, we might get you this, but you have to get that other permit has to also be filed.
Right.
It's a twofold thing.
And I would certainly say that depending on what you want to do, talk to the building commissioner. There might be work that they will allow you to do in the meantime. You might not want to, but they might allow demo.
Like demo work. No.
Okay. Just saying.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
All right, Paul. Good luck.
Hey,
Right.
thank you.
I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. The people from South Street, they said they have 4 units. Check their entrances. I only see one egress per.
Well, the building department would make sure that that's appropriate, but yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Right, for the front to the back.
Just do us one favor. If you want to keep talking, just go in the hall because we still have other stuff we got to handle. Yeah.
No.
Wow, we still have other stuff.
There's always more.
It's never ending, Paulo. Yeah.
I do like the point you brought up, though, because you're right. Always one asked the question. How does that work with basement units?
Mm-hmm.
Guess we'll ask them that question, too. We have other business this evening. We do have a city council petition. I can't even count many zeros in front of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe? 0000007-2024. I'm trying. Did I do it right? Okay, I think that's right.
I think they're expecting a crazy amount of petitions. Anyway.
Request for planning board recommendation to allow petition and enter amended order for recording of easement taking, which is per City of Fitchburg adopted order 234-03. This happened, I think, in 2003.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. So this is trying to remedy a legal matter for a recording of an easement as part of a taking.
I will say, and I don't know if Chantel can give us the gist of this. I don't notice any of the attendees. They don't look familiar to me, so I don't know if anyone's here for that. I don't see Jim Pappas. I know he was part of this.
If there's anybody in our virtual, there's nobody here physically. If there's anybody there virtual for this city council petition, please raise your hand.
I don't think there is.
Okay. Do you want to bring up the
Yeah.
item? You could.
So the gist of this one is it is a very legalese that is not going to matter to the board, I don't think, as long as it's okay with legal. But let's see. So here is the petition. Let me share my screen. Okay. So here is the petition. It is basically taking several parcels. So it says, September 2nd, 2003, approved by the mayor, that relayed out and established a public street or ways on Summer Street, Bemis Road, and John Fitch Highway, including their intersection with Harvard Street, Maverick Street, Hancock Street, Bartell Street, and Clyde Street to include the following. I'm not going to read them all.
Yeah.
They're just, they granted easements and transfers for takings, but some of them were never recorded, is from what I've gathered. Let's see, I think this one, here's the explanation. Land is located, is registered with the Massachusetts Land Court. After the city of Fitchburg adopted the order, it should have, but did not record in the registry of deeds the notice required by MGL 79, Section 4. James C. Pappas, the petitioner, is the current lawful owner of the land, but not the registered owner of that land. The land is currently registered to Murdoch Smith and Bruce Lee Smith. Mr. Pappas has petitioned the land court to issue an order that replaces their certificate that registers the land to him. The land court has recommended to be amended by the Fitchburg City Council as requested in the petition so that the requested amended order may be recorded in the registry of deeds. Again, legal jargon. I think Paul and I kind of settled on if our legal team is okay with it, we're okay with it, or at least I am.
Does anybody else have any questions on that? They're looking for a recommendation to move this along from the board. It's part of the process.
I will make a motion to give an affirmative recommendation that, based upon the assumption that our legal representatives are okay with the petition, the planning board has no issue with it.
Second. Motion's been made with the second. All those, I'm going to take roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say opposed. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? Aye. And that's a recommendation to adopt allow this petition and enter the amended order for recording of easement taking. Recommendation approved. Okay. That item. Our next item is Revolutionary Clinics update on windows and odor mitigation. I'm not sure if
There's still three attendees here, and I don't recognize the names, but if anyone's here for Revolutionary Clinics, raise your hand. If not, we'll just read the emails. Okay, seeing none, I'll read the email. So the first email says, "Good morning. This is from James Schaefer. We just wanted to provide an update on the window project. We're taking this matter very seriously. It appears at this time that considering weather conditions, shipping time of materials, as well as scheduling restrictions, we will not have the mock-up window placed on the building for the planning board to approve by February 1st. I believe that it will be installed in February as long as the weather conditions cooperate. We appreciate the planning board's patience and understanding." That was January 24th. I will say I read this 2 weeks ago and I still forgot to drive past there, so I don't know if it was done. But for the sake of argument, everyone probably should just make a mental note. If you happen to go there and you drive down the parking area, you should be able to see from the courtyard if and when they're done, but I'm assuming they'll also tell us when they're done.
So at least not February, so March or April earliest probably to looking at window mock-ups.
I also got pulled into a meeting with the building department and health department regarding Rev Clinics, and they're still receiving multiple complaints. The paralegal, I think her name is Donna, is
recommending the
Assistant City Solicitor.
City Solicitor is recommending that perhaps the board should consider some time limits on when things get done with this particular, and then other marijuana establishments as well.
Yeah, so I think we have to.
What's the question, though, we need from Ms. Pollock, is regarding the process for that, if whether or not we can amend the permit to add timelines, because right now we're outside of that.
Right. I can follow up with her and see what she advises.
And I will say, Paul and I just talked about this earlier today, and my suggestion was, because they had told us in the September, October, November, December, whenever one of the last emails we received was that they expected to have the rooftop filter systems. They were on back order until April, May, I think the most recent email was, that it will give us some time between now and, let's say, May to figure out how we're going to handle this. And that probably means that, between now and then, city staff and maybe Paul and I should sit down with Donna to formulate a plan. Because I did get a couple complaints recently about native sun. Some people at Monty Tech apparently are smelling it very strong at the school, which is...
Well, that's where I smelt it. I came out, and it was on a Saturday, and I went for a basketball game, and I walked out, and I was like...
That is
it was like... And I asked my son, because he goes to Monty Tech, so I'm like, how often do you... Because I don't drop him off anymore, so...
yeah, that's unacceptable.
No. And it was like, I was coming out of the gym, so I am the farthest...
Oh, away.
Yeah, I was coming out of the gym.
Yeah,
It was strong.
It's one of those things that just permeates the air. Like,
Well, it was strong, like I was looking around to thinking somebody
Yeah, there
was
was
like
somebody
smoking around.
up
Like
to it.
that's how
Yeah.
strong it
Yeah.
was. I was like,
I mean, I've mentioned it before. Like, if you go to Claygon, like when it's rainy and the air's heavy, I told Paula, I'm going to read. Let me read this email first because this pertains to that. They sent another email Friday the 23rd, this past Friday, from the same person, James Schaefer. He's the director of facilities for Revolutionary Clinics. It says, "Good morning. We're currently in talks with Fuss & O'Neill on how we'll proceed along with scheduling the project for the rooftop units. We finished installing all carbon air filtration systems inside the building, and it has cut down on the smell inside the building. There's been a noticeable difference to the outside parking lot areas as well to employees as far as confirmation of a decrease in odor from the public or neighboring areas. I am not aware of any reported changes at this time." I read that wrong. As far as confirmation of a decrease in odor from the public or neighboring areas, I'm not aware of any reported changes at this time. I told Paula, after I read this, I said, oh yeah, maybe it's been a little bit better. I noticed it today, and I noticed it usually in the mornings is when I drive past there. I noticed it today. I noticed it on Friday, I think it was. But maybe it's been better, so maybe that's part of the solution, and the rooftop units hopefully fix the issue. But
What did they say the timeline was on that?
it doesn't say on here. The most recent email I remember from the fall or early winter was April, May. I don't know if that's changed, but it.
So we know we need to get a timeline from them.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
We need to
Send them an email and say, what's the updated timeline?
Keep after it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, this is Alex.
Yes.
Yeah, it's same as what you were saying. I was around the area on Friday, and I definitely got some whiffs of that.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be able to smell it from the outside. This was it's actually a permit condition.
Yeah.
So I'll just say there's a violation of the permit condition because of that automatically. So that is a $300 a day potential penalty.
I mean, realistically, at this point, the city's had enough complaints that if someone complains, the building inspector should file an action on them. Should file because it's non-compliance of a permit condition.
Okay.
And I worry now, the ward counselor who calls me all the time, I worry now that even people like him who are very, aware of the situation, they don't even bother complaining anymore because it's been so, such a long-standing issue for a year plus now, which is weird because I've been around the building since it started and it wasn't a problem until a couple years ago. So I don't know.
They have expanded, though.
Yeah, right. But native sun it might be problematic too, and then we'll have to kind of
that's
revisit that as well.
Something we want to probably bring back to the board, sometime this year, of calling in all of the marijuana facilities to go over the odor aspects of it.
I think you mentioned June. This past fall, you were all talking about evaluating.
And we can look at the, I would say, ask the Board of Health which ones we're getting. We can't do them all at once. So
Okay.
how do we prioritize by calling?
Okay, I can touch
Yeah.
base.
Like that.
I would also recommend looking at Ethos, the right off of exit 28.
Yep, that's been one.
That's another. I live in the area, so, and I'm not complaining about the smell, but it is something that pops up frequently.
You know, I will say, I think the board probably understands this, but if anyone ever says to you, hey, did you notice the smell? Your response should be, please contact the Board of Health and tell them. Because I tell
Please
Council
log these complaints.
I tell Council Boschman this all the time when he calls me, like, send an email to the Board of Health or call them, because the official complaint is what matters. And although I always feel bad personally, me complaining, because I'm involved personally with the board, and I feel like that's kind of hitting them twice. So I don't generally do that, but I think people don't think that, oh, I should call the Board of Health. This is a Board of Health issue, and if anyone ever says that, tell them the appropriate people to contact is the Board of Health. You can give them a call. You don't even need a name. You can just say, I smelled it here. It's problematic, and they'll take the time and the location, and they'll make a note of it. And the more when those happen, we can keep track of it's bad in these areas on these days. You know, like Paul and I talked about, the problem that's going to come is if we have another, like if 32 Oak Hill Lane, the one we approved for Green Soul, gets built, okay, now where's the problem coming from? Right. If they build it across from, like we know now, Revolutionary Clinics is the problem because there's nothing within half a mile of there. But if they build something right next door, like we got to iron this out now, so you figure out your site's not a problem. So the next one, if it's a problem, it's the next site. So
is this an ongoing problem with all communities, or is this just unique to Fitchburg?
It's so from what I've heard, Holyoke has issues with this. I told Paula I started this process by reaching out to the CCC. Okay. I not only did I call multiple times, but I've emailed more than once. I've gotten automated responses, and I've got responses that will get back to you. I've never gotten an actual, because my first email was, if theoretically, if we have these problems, how do what's the state control?
How are other communities dealing with?
Because the state is supposed to control this too. It's part of their permit is that there should not be nuisance smells coming from these facilities.
Right.
So if this continues, my next step was going to be to the mayor's office to say, you should write a formal letter to the CCC and say, this is a problem, what are we going to do? I don't know if the mayor's office feels that way, so obviously I'm not going to put it on them, but I do know that I've gotten enough complaints from people, just in conversations, let alone Facebook and everything else, of people that are like, yeah, it's a problem, but we live with it. It's like, that's not okay. Yeah. If you think it's a problem and the smell is an issue and they're not supposed to have smell, then the duty is on the planning board and the Board of Health to figure out how we mitigate this. So,
yeah, and for the record, I don't have an issue with the smell, but it is something that you do smell. So I'm sure other neighbors and residents are going to have an issue with it.
Yeah, and when you get, like, you talk about Claygon, we talk about Revolutionary Clinics. It's such a dense neighborhood there. It's not something they should have to deal with if they have problems with it. And I know some people do. So, it's. I don't know. That's why I was hoping for 1 Oak Hill Road for Revolutionary Clinics, this plan that they have solves it. And if it doesn't, then we have to start getting more specific about what we require.
All right. But yes, enhancement on permit enforcement with our zoning enforcement.
I mean, and it's possible too, Chantel, especially with an interim building commissioner, that the Board of Health, our assistant solicitor, and the building commissioner aren't aware that that is specifically a permit condition, and that with appropriate complaints that they could probably just start finding them. And maybe, I know the Board of Health told us they find them at least once. I think they said twice.
I think twice.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's daily from the first complaint till now, till it's fixed.
Until it's
every day.
Right. Okay.
So just something to think
I'll
about.
just say there's an exposure there.
Okay.
And that's probably going to involve coordination with the mayor's office and trying to figure out what
You
we
know,
want to
this
do
being
with this.
cooperative, but it is also, we want to make sure things are on an acceptable timeline, not just on their timeline. It's got to be like, well, we need to get this resolved. So we're making a lot of efforts, enough efforts. Understanding that there's issues in supply chains and things like that, but this has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
For that. All right, are we done with that subject? All right. 0 Shea Street. We have a mutual agreement request for a public hearing extension. This is for the large-scale ground-mounted solar project. So that is just there before us for a vote to just allow the extension. The prior one expires now.
Yep, and
Right,
just.
was till February?
I told Paula, I got a call today from Jamie Rowe, who's the engineer for Haley Ward, and he basically said, do I need to come? And I said, no, not really. We're just accepting the extension. Nothing's really going on. They're getting ready to decide whether they want to pay the third-party fee to move forward with the review, or if they want to wait to see what's happening with these solar zoning changes. We'll find out, so.
And we're going to get clarification on just what the board can actually, options are moving forward because of the zoning petition that was put forward and how that affects this proposal. So
Did you want to make did you want me to make a motion about that, or are you good
Yes.
just signing it?
Nope, please make a motion.
Make a motion to authorize the mutual agreement extension of time that Paula has in her hand.
Second.
Second.
A motion was made with the second, and take all those in favor. I'll take a roll call, say yeah, aye, and all those opposed say oppose. Alex?
Aye.
Alin?
Aye.
Slow on the draw.
Amanda?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Paula? I know I have a certain order. I was like alphabetical, and everybody. I got to change it up sometimes.
Sometimes you just can't find that mute button.
Right, yes, I'm sure with that too. Thank
Oh,
you.
Lynn, if she keeps picking on you, you need to find a new running partner.
And I just did want to mention, and maybe and Chantel, we do have a number of minutes to go through, but before that, on the communications, just mention that is it the MBTA project that the city's working on updating, going to propose some zoning amendments so that the city can be in compliance. Was it 3A?
Yes.
Communities Act.
District, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we're still working on that. Hopefully, I think that Liz mentioned meeting with you and Paul first, and then sorting out when we'd be coming before the planning board eventually. I think there was a timeline with a slideshow that, so yeah, it should be coming pretty soon.
In the nutshell, the zoning there has to be a zoning amendment done by the end of the year, pretty much for the city to comply with that requirement. That's within getting pretty much like by right multifamily housing within
the same thing that's been on the news with the other towns.
With Milton, yes.
Yeah.
Correct. So there's a proposal about how we can address that, and the city has hired, or actually got some grant money to work with a group in order to help facilitate what the city needs to do for options to do this. And so we've got met with a couple of departments as well and try to see, what could be done, and then they're going to put forth a proposal towards zoning amendment, and we'll have to start that process of amending the zoning ordinance.
If memory serves correctly, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, I believe April is when they hope to have the preliminary proposal to the council.
Something like that. So I just want to give a heads up that that's in the works.
Yeah.
So we'll have to be looking at that, and it's complicated.
It's so complicated.
So that's why there was a proposal, like, here's a bunch of slides of what they're recently working on, like, it's complicated, like, can't even make heads or tails. And we can certainly send that out to the board members of what they have so far, and yeah.
The gist of
Just to understand what's going on.
the gist of the MBTA communities is what sections of the city we allow these types of multifamily developments will be, they'll have to be allowed by right.
Within that
And they'll
radius.
have to be allowed with very few restrictions.
Okay.
So basically, very dense multifamily buildings within a certain area of the MBTA rail lines.
Right.
Of the 2 train station, well, really the 1 train.
Which does happen to fall into the cities, what we have is our smart growth district. So we can use some of that, piggyback with that, and then potentially some of the, looking at the FSU district, which also falls into that area about what can be looked at in order to comply, and what changes need to be made. So that's been a bit of the focus. So she'll just put it on everybody's radar. And we'll forward out information, I'll have Chantel forward out information of like what we have. Can make some tales of it. There's also as of communications, there's the Citizens Training Planning Collaborative.
Right.
Training coming up in March.
I did email that to all the board members. I did that.
And I do want to say, as an aside, if anyone can go, and I've been twice, it's pretty good, and there's one particular one on solar, which I want to go to. I'm gone that day. So as soon as I saw the thing, as a matter of fact, Chantel, I don't know if you're part of it, and if you're not, I should sign you up, because Mike signed me up before you were hired so that someone was. I'm on the Mass Planners listserv.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's really helpful. And I saw that a couple days or last week, whenever it was, and I was like, I saw the schedule. I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then I saw it's the 16th, and I'm not around. So
It's got some great seminars there between site plans, but they're going to be talking about updates in cannabis law, also solar. Maybe you might even want to send it to City Council if anybody's interested in attending any.
I was just thinking that
too,
especially with the solar thing highlighted, and because it's very pertinent to what they're doing too.
Right.
So
Just knowing what
Seems like a good idea.
getting more information on the subject matter for that could be helpful. Yeah, so they had some interesting things come up. So just to put that out there, we do have a number of minutes. There's 4 sets.
do you want me to
Bring that
pull
up?
them up separately? Or
Yes.
can I? Okay, I was going to say, or can I just ask a general question if anyone has any changes? and
Can I
I'll
just
forward them?
make one comment? When you were talking about the native son, I just was like going over it in the October minutes. One of the conditions was submit an odor mitigation plan within 4 months and implementation within 12. That we told.
I do remember the conversation with them. I didn't
4
remember
months would be February.
I was going to say I didn't
They've
remember the
actually-
time frame.
They've actually done it. Actually, they've got right on it.
Oh, right, now that
They
they were going to
actually-
get typed up, that's right.
Yeah, they
I'm sorry.
actually were working, they actually did submit something.
They submit a plan, yeah.
They submitted a plan, and it's the implementation part. We're waiting for the 12, to implement.
Oh, that's
So
what
they
you-
did submit a plan.
Okay.
And they were like, hopefully this will do the trick. And it's like, well, if it doesn't, you're still going to go
see
back, you're
again.
still going to fix it. Exactly, we'll see you again for that, but
Okay.
we need
I
that.
just happened to
we
see
need
that, and I was like, oh.
resolved. So it's like, so we do want to know about further smells coming from that particular, facility or by Monty Tech. That's important.
Yeah.
So I have all the minutes here, Paul. You tell me what you want from me, and I'll do anything you want.
Oh, let's work backwards. Let's do January.
Ooh, okay. Bold move. All right. January. Here's January. So January was the solar one, right? So this one we went through with a fine-tooth comb because we had to send the solar part of our, which have we done yet? We have to send the solar part of our minutes in, well, it doesn't have to be draft form if you haven't done it yet because we're going to approve it in a minute. But we have to send just the solar section to the council for their review when they get to our recommendation to start the conversation about the solar zoning change. So I don't know if anyone has any revisions or changes. I'm not going to go through every one of these because it's long and tedious, but
There's 10 pages, I know.
yeah, this one was long. This was CDBG to our recommendations, so.
So the minutes, they were dropped by Melissa? for the most part?
Yep.
Yes.
Melissa
Great
Richard.
job. And she also provides the transcript, and I'll get a set of minutes like this. The transcript is like 57 pages of it's one paragraph.
It's
okay?
so hard to read. And it's got like ums and ahs. And,
Everything we're saying, everything.
yeah.
Go back, focus. You have to hit Control Find to find like a keyword, and move on it. But just to try to find how everybody voted. That's why roll call is kind of important. So we can actually like fall back and look in that regard. So there, we looked at the transcript for all of these as well. Try to get better detail on them. So I'm getting caught up. And if anybody has any questions on January,
Make a motion to approve the January minutes as amended.
all right.
There were a million changes.
It's not even amended. These are the first draft.
Oh, well, okay. You and I amended them at length, but yes, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. So right. So make a motion to approve these meeting minutes. Yep.
All right.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
So for the
What was
record, that
aye?
was January 23rd.
I wasn't at that meeting. I don't know if
You could still vote if you want to, but you can abstain too. It's whatever. Doesn't
either way,
matter.
I don't
Yeah.
whatever you want to put.
Okay.
October, that was the next big one.
Got it right here.
Here we go.
And
October, that's when we had like those 12 hearings.
Yeah, October. October also we spent some time on because it had IVJ and it had Canterbury, which got sent to iLegal. So I spent a lot of time on that one too. I watched that meeting 3 times, so that was fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well,
And I have to go back and look at, like, try to do the decisions without the minutes, and then go back and look at the minutes after.
yep. Make a motion to approve unless anyone has any
But we're
changes.
okay.
Second.
Motion's been made with a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All good, Alex?
Oh, I did want to make one interesting comment, Paula, that you and I both didn't pick up on, but I did change it, and the January one, our board reorganization, it didn't say vice chair, it said co-chair, and I was
Oh, all right.
it's not cool. So I did get it, but I'm pretty sure I changed it, so.
Aye, sorry about that. I was having trouble with my computer. Aye.
Perfect. This is July.
So
And-
July, I was not there.
And no one's going to remember this, so this was the one we had the church on Main Street for parking. We had Ronald Street continuance, which Paula moved to Paula and I reviewed them together. She moved them to the end for the sake of being in the order of where they should have been in the conversation, even though we took them kind of out of order in our meeting, which I was fine with. It didn't particularly matter. And then we just had, we had a recusal and rejoining. But aside from that, make a motion to approve
Second?
A motion was made to approve with a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 There we go. I'm like, I can hear the
Our
I can
internet's
hear.
slow, I found out.
We have a remote contingency.
Just for the sake of it, do you want to ask if anyone's opposed? Or-
Is there anyone opposed? Thank you.
Perfect.
All right, and then June.
In June was the Fitchburg High Solar and,
There was the opening of Ronald Street.
yeah, One Oak Hill Road, smell remediation negligence. All right.
We have, so I made only that one correct, I think it's on there, underneath Ronald Street.
Hold on,
Just
let me-
making sure, I said I just changed that to, it's hard when I have to go back and do it. Ronald Street, the actual motion, when we motioned it to August, to just go to August meeting. See, no, change that, see, it says August 29th.
Yeah, the 29th
It just
should be
needs-
gone.
29th should be gone.
So Chantel, can you make a note of that, and can you make that change? Because these are PDFs, so I can't edit, Melissa can. So in the 44 Ronald Street hearing, at the very end where the motion is, it should say the motion was amended to continue until the August meeting.
Not-
Because our August meeting wasn't the 29th.
Right. And so no, because I had to, since we went back, it's like, oh, motion to the August 29th meeting. It's like, no, we didn't decide that until July. So this is June.
Okay.
And this is why the motion was made in July, to extend it because of we changed the August timeline. So this is why I had just making sure it all fall into place.
Shit, now you have me doubting.
But it went, but it's a,
Now
it
you
was
have me
tough.
doubting whether if all these changes are in here.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, I thought I sent the set to you, that
You
set.
did, and I used that set.
So,
I don't know.
because I made that change.
All right, that's fine.
We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say everything else is fine. I'm going to put it out there and just be good with it.
All right.
Deal with it. Make a motion to approve as amended. And this one's as amended.
Yeah, this one as amended. Motion's been made with a second to approve as amended. All those in favor say aye.
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 Lynn, there we go. Cute.
Okay.
I am just so thrilled to get through all of these minutes. That was a lot of hours of work.
It's hard to review June and July meeting
Yeah,
minutes.
because
It's not easy.
No.
Especially when they're continuations, because you're like, was that in that meeting or was it the meeting?
Well, Go back, look at the transcript, watch the video, like.
I don't know how you look at those transcripts. I look at a couple of them, and I just rather, I watch TV, and I literally have one earbud in, and I listen to the meeting, and I make notes while I'm watching TV.
I have to go-
And that's how I get through meetings.
And I I go back to the to get certain, like, the pieces of it, too. So, yeah, it's hard.
Mm.
But hopefully, as we get caught up, it'll be easier because it'll just be fresh.
Yep.
and
We're
done.
getting there.
So it's kind of just getting the old ones out of the way. So there's a few more in last year to be done. But these will get posted, and we're getting there. Yeah, that was good that we got through these. Appreciate that, everyone's.
Oops. I don't need.
Is there anything else any board member would like to bring up or have a communication with, or something for next meeting, like the information?
One
on the
quick question,
project?
kind of an update, because I got another text this morning. Do we have an update on Game On and what happened the other day? So for the board members that aren't aware, there apparently was some site work that was started directly behind the houses on Victoria Lane. So I got a text message from one of the residents who often calls me or texts me, who hasn't in a long time, and said, what's going on? And apparently city staff went there, so just curious what's going on.
Yeah, so there's some site work going on. It was up in the air as to if they went into a wetland or not. But it turns out that the DEP has jurisdiction over the area as far as the wetlands are concerned. At this point, I'm just gathering information and site plans so I can get my ducks in a row to contact Game On, and then also let our building inspector be aware of possibly going up there and ensuring everything that they're doing is in accordance to what you approved back in 2017. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm working on it right now.
Yeah, I think like I told you, Chantal, I think that the right course of action, and if Paul, if you agree, I think the right course of action is to send Peter an email and just say, hey, what's going on? Just, we're curious. We have neighborhood complaints. Is this in compliance with the special the site plan that we already granted? Are you doing anything different? And if so, we need to know about it before you do it.
I think we're aware that there's definitely differences in the site plan, so we need to take a formal action. Something from the city has to go to say you need to submit a site plan by X, Y, Z, or stop the work you're doing.
Okay.
That's kind of, I know we've already been asking so many times, and all we get is
not anything.
no.
I don't
At
know
least
that
that's not
I don't know
anything,
that a
but it's
formal
just kind of like,
request.
of course, we're working in accordance with the plan. Doesn't look like it, but we know that there's been work done with the driveways and with additional parking that's not on the plan already in the past couple of years. So we've got that plus whatever is happening now. And I mean, if they are developing the fields or not, we need to know that and what any changes to the parking layout.
Just for the sake of
But
just
parking is an issue
conversation.
and they need more parking, so.
I understand. For the sake of conversation, I don't know that a formal request was ever made
Right.
for a new site plan. So maybe we just say that now and say, hey, we are.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
We believe that parts of what ultimately were constructed slightly differ from the site plan. We need an engineer to look at them to make sure that what is there now is in compliance with what was approved. And if any new work's being done, then obviously we need to figure out what that is and whether it's permitted, whether it's allowed.
Because we also understand, I don't know whether or not they're still using the artificial fields for parking at all, which was, again, not approved parking to use the artificial turf fields. That's already not in compliance with the site plan, and they need additional parking, so where are they putting it?
Right,
As a, update to the site
as
plan.
an update to the site plan.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
He says, so we just kind of need to loop back around on that, but
Well, whatever I draft up, I'll just, I'll run it past you and see, because I wasn't here at that time. I want to make sure I get it right. So I'll follow up with you.
well, it's also, that's fine, but it's really, are they complying with the site plans, with the building commissioner, what the site
Right,
plan is? And,
right.
is it anything different? Okay, then it's a modification.
Step number one was to find the most recent set of plans so I could get, have
Right.
Felix look at them. So I did that today. So
I think
That's what the first step that needs to be determined, if it's in accordance with the site plan or not, to say, yes, a modification is required.
okay, all right.
And then start the process for that.
Mhm.
It's,
All right.
it's like, certainly we can ask, what's happening with the, any excavation work being done now up there.
Right.
Find out what's going on, and then is still, again, is that in compliance with the site plan?
Absolutely, okay.
Aspects of that. Is there any other filing that they need to do with that? But that's really all in the building department
Right.
realm. Not so much the board. We're just getting a complaint, so it's like, are they following the site plan? And if not, tell them what they need to do.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure I get all the information together, so at least, we have something to go by.
Yep.
Okay.
It's tough that there's no one in
It's a long
either
project.
department that were involved for years of dealing with Game On. And I sent Chantel, I don't know, 3 or 4 emails.
You did.
There's a lot of stuff to comb through in those
There's a
emails.
lot,
So
There's a lot, right, I think I sent over to also what, like, Tom had done, like a punch list in the past, too, kind of here's some things.
Yep.
I still have to go through them. I just glanced through them as I was, there's
But
a
it is a
lot.
lot of time, it's going to be time on other departments' parts, too, to see, where we're at from a lot of different departments with compliance with any of those aspects, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, but to be worked on, we need to,
Yeah, we keep pushing it off, and I feel like it's just getting further away, but
yeah.
whatever.
Well, now hopefully we don't get an agenda of, 12 items to times. We
Right.
can work on some of these other aspects.
Right.
All right. I appreciate everyone's time this evening. I
Make a-
mentioned, is there any other projects or status updates? That was kind of a big one. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All those
Thanks,
opposed?
guys.
No one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Aye.
Good night.